like I'm trapped inside my mind. Oh, how did we get lost in this moment? Are you a victim or are you a witness in this life? So hold fast as I fall through the cracks of your heart. Oh, why can't you see? I can't choose to live. Are you listening in the dark? Oh, are you listening? Was I fading from the start? Oh, was I fading? Where were you? Where were you? When I reached out for you, can you hear me through the darkness? Can you hear me? I find myself still dreaming before I ever start believing in healing. Try to mend what's torn apart. Too familiar with the cost of your forgiveness. So am I a savior or am I the demons in your mind? So hold fast as I fall through the cracks of your heart. Oh, why can't you see? I can't choose to live. Are you listening in the dark? Oh, are you listening? Was I fading from the start? Oh, was I fading? Where were you? Where were you? When I reached out for you, can you hear me through the darkness? Can you hear me? And I swore I'd drag you up this hill if you let me. If you just fall, but you can't stop, can't let yourself see through to me. Now what we've come to do, see through to me. I just need you to believe. Are you listening in the dark? Oh, are you listening? Was I fading from the start? Oh, was I fading? Where were you? Where were you? When I reached out for you, can you hear me through the darkness? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Tell me, is this real or fantasy? Truth defined or make-believe? Try not to think about every single doubt that is slowly killing me. And I wonder if you know that I don't believe a word you ever say. Oh, I know you'll never change. Could you save me from myself? I swear I'll let you have what's left. Do you ever even think about me? 'Cause I'm dying to think about you. If only you could let me know. Give me something more than hope. Could be heaven if you're dying with me, or could be hell if we're without you. Every time you speak, every time you sing, I can feel it boiling in my blood. No one can escape it. Every time you speak, you never listen. listen every time you see it's tunnel vision. I can feel it boiling in my blood. Now all I say is run. 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 Do you see what I've become? Could you take me from myself? I swear I'll let you have what's left. Do you ever even think about me? 'Cause I'm dying thinking about you. If only you could let me know. Give me something more than hope. Could be having you die with me, or could be hard living without you. Every now and then I wanna start again. Learn it all down to a different end. Every now and then I wanna start again. Learn it all down to a different end. You know I can't deny it. This time round it's gonna hurt. But I'd rather watch these bridges burn. Every now and then I wanna start again. Burn it all down to a different end. Every now and then I wanna start again. Burn it all down, burn it all down. Could you take me from myself? I swear I'll let you have what's left. Do you ever even think about me? 'Cause I'm dying thinking about you. If only you could let me know. Give me something more than hope. Could be having you die with me, or could be hell living without you. Every single word that you ever said, losing some of me, turning to the king. You think that I would ever lie? Every single word that you ever said, losing some of me, turning to the king. You think that I would ever lie? Every now and then I wanna start again. Burn it all down to a different end. Every now and then I wanna start again. Burn it all down, burn it all down.
Hey, the following can contain some intense language and is intended for a mature audience, so viewer discretion is advised. From the NHL to the World of Chell, if it's hockey, we're talking about it. Welcome to the Hockey Talk with Chalk podcast. Holy shit, boys. Welcome on in. It's a fucking Saturday night, and the Chalkzone is live. How y'all doing? As always, I'm your host, TJ Chalkboard, coming to you live from the Chalkzone Rec Room, live in the Legion of Doom headquarters. Turts, hold on, Turts, hold on. Oh my God. So I made a mistake, guys, and I forgot to add in the blurps. So give me 1 second. Hey, there we go. That should do it there. Try it again, Turts. Try it again. Actually, I'm going to try one and see if this actually works. There we go. Everybody! Let's go. Let's go, boys. You guys getting tired of this yet? So, welcome on in to Hockey Talk with Chalk, presented by the Chalkzone.
He appears.
I believe in Joe Hendry. All right. I am totally going to have to. Okay, hold on. Now we got to do something else here because this is going to get out of hand super fucking quick. Properties control via OBS. There we go. So now we've added that in. We're going to make sure that I can actually hear it. And then we're going to turn the volume down so that way you guys can't fucking, overdo me. Just saying. Just saying. You check out the logo I'm making on our t-shirts. I have not, Turts, but I will make sure that I get a good look at that. So now when you guys play the blurbs, it won't be going extra loud. So guys, here's what is going on. We want this to be something very special. So this show is going to be about hockey. Every area of hockey, in every sense of the word, right? The NHL, international hockey, women's game, next generation prospects, even the virtual side of hockey through World of Chell and EA Sports NHL, even though they still haven't added it in on PlayStation yet. Who was that? Yupo, what's going on, buddy? Appreciate you being here. This is our very first episode, and we are so glad you guys are here. We certainly aren't short on things to talk about for tonight. Obviously, Carolina winning the Stanley Cup. Everybody knows that, but we're going to actually talk a little bit about that because we want to cover basically everything that's happened over this hockey summer, including the NHL offseason and the absolute chaos from blockbuster trades to massive offer sheets from Philadelphia, which I'm sure we have a certain fan of Philly that'll be here and who will have something to say about that, to say the very least. What else we got? We got PWHL growing at an incredible rate here, guys. This has been absolutely wild to see and great to see that they're actually moving forward. Canada's next prospects are on display. Has that game finished yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they are, okay. And as for the hockey gaming community, people have been asking EA Sports to bring back a certain mode, and it's finally happened, so we're going to talk about that as well. We got a little bit of information from those who have tested out the new game and what they think, what they don't think, and we have some questions about what NHL will be bringing to us this year. So I'm very happy that I'm not doing all of this alone. Along with me here tonight, I got a couple of people that are here with me. First and foremost, I'm going to do this in the opposite order you would think. But the first guy that I got here with me, as we move on over to the panel, Crosby, degree in sports and recreation as well as sports management. He's worked for the Sarnia Sting as well as the Legionnaires, the double IHF, as well as the U17 Challenge. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing today?
Not too bad. I'm glad to have you along here with me, man. This has been absolutely fantastic and a long time coming, to say the least. We've been kind of thinking and working on how all this was going to pan out. So I am definitely glad you are here tonight with me. And then above him, our top, I guess you could say. He made that joke earlier. I don't know if I'm making it as funny as he did, but I'm going to try my best. This guy has become a really close friend of mine. He has become a producer and the kind of guy that I didn't recognize that I needed until he started doing a little more for me in every single aspect of what the Chalkzone is trying to build. Philly fan 765, a.k.a. Jake Didinsky, sports journalist and media producer, has covered the USMNT World Qualifying for Switch the Pitch Soccer. He's been an interview subject about as often as the interviewer, with appearances on BBC World News, Fox 5, WTOP, 94 WIP, plus features in ESPN and the Washington Post. He's a published author, president of the American Outlaws DC, Flyer season ticket holder, who's finally back in Philadelphia. Philly fan, how are you doing, man?
Well, that was a mouthful. Good job. You got through it. Good job. I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited to be it.
I tried my hardest, man. I was definitely trying my hardest. And man, you got such a big fucking resume trying to pick out the things that make it worthwhile. You know,
I had to preemptively cut it ahead of time because I was like, when you asked for a blurb, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna need a bit. I'm gonna need a second to just get this to a thing because this is like 80 PDFs. Also, I see Broken in the chat. I want to give a quick shout out to Broken, who is not only my roommate and best friend, but also a secret kind of co-producer who were also helping keep us afloat. So yeah, but I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
Right on.
Amped up.
You guys like the
Unlike
new
the U.S. hockey team, by the way, I am here. I showed up.
Yes. And you guys appreciate the new background. So now
I love it.
I got a whole bunch of different ones that I'm going to be able to use on different nights. So it's going to be awesome. Turt's actually saying he can handle a mouthful, no gag reflexes. I was going to refer to him as the throat goat, And in
Please
the
I, I heard that you used my top joke, which was hilarious. And yeah, your execution, it was good. It could use a little bit of work, but the LGBTs amongst us,
yes,
crickets, other than me, probably thought it was hilarious. So,
yep,
you know,
fair, fair.
nevertheless, here we are.
I'm sure some others are going to find it amusing somewhere along the way. All right, so before we get started, we're going to be moving right on to Carolina. But before we do, guys, I wanted to, hit a little icebreaker here. So before we do get into any series, when I told you guys I was putting this all together as a hockey podcast, UFO, let's go. Coming in with a 5 gifted subs. Let's fucking go, brother. When I told you guys that I wanted to put together this hockey podcast and I wanted you guys involved, what exactly did you think you guys were signing up for, Crosby?
Well, just I wasn't 100% sure because how the nights go with Asia and Elmas Shell. Didn't know how much you'd be drinking or what's going to go on and how much fun we're actually going to have during a podcast and just kind of like a talk with the boys.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting.
Fair, dude. Like, hey, there's going to be drinking. Yupo just dropped 5 gifted subs. I don't know if we could do it the same way that we normally do. Guys, I got to make it through like a 2-hour show actually talking the whole time, but we'll see. I do have the booze here. I got the normal shot glass. So we're going to do that up. Cat, if you don't shut up, you're going to be on TV. Philly, I'm going to pass the same question off to you. And the reason why I actually thought about this question was last night when you were like, so like, what are we doing? And then I kind of had to refer back to like the entire itinerary and you were like, oh shit, this is real hockey.
I mean, look, I love a virtual hockey. I love our guys. Like, don't get me wrong, they're great. They're fun to talk about, and I try my best to bring a certain level of realism to it. Although, when you're covering Cruel Products defense, it's hard to say it's real defense to getting our shots in early, or my goaltending at Swiss cheese or calling Turt to twink. But nevertheless, I wanted to know like where we were going, right? And so,
absolutely.
I was pleasantly surprised to see that we're going to blend the two, right?
Yes.
Like we can find a balance between semi serious hockey talk and also, let's get chalk drunk talk. And what that line is, we will figure out. I will just take a moment to address something in the chat while we get your first shot in here, which is that I know, Chalk, you mentioned to me, there is a litany of people who want to be like guests, and we want to get everybody in more than just call-in slots, right? Like guest slots. But over time, not for the first one, because we kind of wanted to get our legs under us and make sure that it goes. But as we move forward, we do want to implement a way where people can call in to the show, hopefully pre-screened by One Broken Arrow. And as you can see, the chat is up, so please engage with us. You'll also notice, I'll take a moment to point out some of the new things going across the screen there. You've got upcoming shows, and those will continue to populate. And so, all in all, Chalk has put a lot of work into this. A tornado and a storm tried to undo it, but our amazing TJ here said the hell with that. And so what did I expect when you asked me to be here? Well, I got asked kind of late, so I think we're going to find out together.
Yeah, no shit, eh? Let's fucking go. It is absolutely fun. And Turts, to answer your question, no. No. Okay? Absolutely not. All right, boys, I think it's about time to get, and yes, again, thank you. This has been a lot of work as well. This work is going into the broadcasts and the productions, everything that we're going to be putting through be putting together for you guys on the hockey nights. It's going to be very similar to the feel of this. This is the new Chalkzone approach that we're building. Because again, we want it to be something that really works well with the entire group. So again, guys, so thankful that all of you are here. Thankful to both of you, and I'm looking forward to getting this started. So I say we get going here, boys. What do you think?
Do it.
100%.
All right. So Carolina Hurricanes have won the Stanley Cup. This is exactly where the season ended. For 20 years, it had been 20 years since Rod Brind'Amour lifted the Stanley Cup as captain of the Carolina Hurricanes, and he got to watch another Carolina Hurricane captain in Jordan Staal do exactly the same thing. Hurricanes defeating the Golden Knights in 6 games, closing out the series with a 3-0 shutout in Las Vegas. Brandon Bussi stopped all 22 shots that he faced in Game 6, while Taylor Hall, Jackson Blake, and Nikolai Ehlers provided the goals. Carolina didn't just win a Stanley Cup, they absolutely tore through the playoffs. Hurricanes finishing the postseason at 16-3. The fewest games required in Stanley Cup the fewest games required to win a Stanley Cup championship since the Edmonton Oilers went 16-2 in 1988. Sweeping Ottawa, they swept Philadelphia, beating Montreal in 5, and then taking down Vegas in 6. For a team that had been knocking on the door for years, this felt kind of less like a Cinderella run and more like a team that finally made it to exactly where a lot of people expected them to be, despite coming up short almost every season, right? Carolina became one of those teams that almost everyone respected, but a lot of people questioned because of that, right? Like, it always seemed like second round, these guys just couldn't get through. Since returning to the playoffs in 2019, Carolina had won at least one round in 7 consecutive seasons and reached multiple conference finals, but repeatedly fell short in the Stanley Cup final. Sportsnet has framed the 2026 final as a chance for Carolina to finally erase that reputation. So, guys, I'm going to go to you here. For years, Carolina was a team that everybody said did everything right. Strong possession, depth, structure, solid coaching there, obviously, but they can never quite finish the job. Crosby, to you first. Does winning this cup fundamentally change the way that you look at the Rod Brind'Amour era in Carolina?
For me, yes, and because they've always been that team that's they can't get over the hump. They've always had the easiest road to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they would never get past that Eastern Conference Finals. For me, even it dates back. You go back to last year. They've always never had that piece to get past that. So they make a splash trade and they go get Mikko Rantanen. Well, Rantanen didn't want to be in Carolina. He left very quickly. And if we look at this year in the playoffs, the biggest piece, in my opinion, to success to their Stanley Cup playoffs was that trade that they got from Dallas for Rantanen was Logan Stankoven, who was unbelievable this year. And through the first 3 rounds was probably their best player on the team and put the team on his back basically for scoring. And he was that offensive power that they needed. And then they get over the hump this year and beat Vegas, who had been there before, but isn't the same Vegas team as it was a couple years ago. But they're still there. But that Carolina's show that if you play real hockey, like strength, physicality, speed, you play in their face the whole time, you're going to win. So, like, just what Brind'Amour has put into his team shows that, like, with all the work, anything's possible. And they were the best team in hockey this year. So I think that changes the scenario of like what Brind'Amour is perceived as, that team can do anything.
No, fully agree. To you, Philly, do you think some people were too quick to write them off as, playoff underachievers in the first place, like before coming into the playoffs this season? Because obviously they were always a good team. Yes, like things are going to happen, but like a lot of people had them written off before the playoffs even started.
All right, buckle up. So this is now why you bring me here. So let's have a very frank conversation here. All right. Carolina won the Stanley Cup. That's great. Good for them. Like, they were a good team, 100%. Like, yes, kudos to Brind'Amour. All that being said, I don't know where this narrative came from that, like, they're some sort of underdogs or this, that, or the other, and I really need the media to get off of it. Let's start with what Prod said, okay? First off, if Colorado made the finals, Carolina would have been blown out of the building. Let's just state the obvious, okay? Secondarily, this team was a team that was built to beat the Florida Panthers. Unfortunately for Carolina, Florida just decided to take this year off by getting injured to hell and back. So, what you saw in the Eastern Conference was a very pissed off team that had been constructed to beat a team that thus far they still have not beaten in the playoffs, for the record. And so that monkey very much still on their back. Let's just clear that up, right? And that team got better in the offseason, but didn't have to go through that. And so what you saw essentially was they just steamrolled everybody. Was it impressive to an extent? Yes. I mean, but to call them an underdog is a drastic disservice to the team and honestly to the entire Eastern Conference, because while Colorado was far and away the best team in the league in the regular season, the Eastern Conference was a literal bloodbath. I mean, and the fact that Vegas, of all teams, took them to 6, I think tells you that this team might not be as strong as certain narratives have made it out to be. I mean, for God's sakes, you went up against the goalie who now holds the record for worst goaltending performance in the Stanley Cup Finals, Carter 4 or more, a guaranteed 4-goal game, and finally on the last game you figure it out. But
Yeah.
I think that the talking point is yes, Carolina won a championship, and that's great, and that's awesome, and we are super happy about that. Although, please take some of your championship money and fix your cameras so I don't have to watch a guy's head with an ad board on at ESPN. But, and this is a huge but, the last time they did this and Brindamore was a part of it, what happened?
Yeah.
So, is the question, is Carolina now some team sustained for success and franchise dynasty? Well, I don't know. They're going to have to beat Florida first.
Yeah. 100%.
And so, I mean, I guess that's my takeaway is look, they had a fairly easy path to the Stanley Cup Finals. They had to go to overtime for quite a few games, even on the pathway to the Eastern Conference Finals. Not just in the Flyers series, but the Flyers series was played a lot closer than I think people realize. A really young team like that should not be skating with a experienced team like Carolina. And so for me, I think that it is really one of those questions of what exactly is Carolina? Because I don't really know a lot about them other than they won a championship, and I have so many more questions about this team now than I did before. Their style of play is very much like their coach. That is worth being commended. But do I think they're the Stanley Cup favorites next year? Absolutely not.
No.
No.
No. And again, like you pointed out, the Eastern Conference, especially that Atlantic, is only getting stronger. So it will definitely be interesting to see how it turns going into next season. Brindamore captained Carolina to its first Stanley Cup in 2006, as I mentioned earlier, and then coached the franchise to its second championship here 20 years later. It was noted in Routers that he became only the fourth in NHL history to both win a cup as a player and as a coach with the same franchise. To me, one of the coolest parts of this entire story is Rod Brindamore. 20 years ago, he's holding up the cup over his head. Now he's, standing behind the bench as his boys are doing it. Now, mind you, if you saw that fucking video, dude, bro is still yoked because he was looking pretty fucking jacked in that video of him in the locker room holding up the cup with the boys. But I digress there. Crosby, from the standpoint of someone who's worked for the team, right, and the coaching perspective, how difficult is it to keep the same message fresh when a group has come so close repeatedly, but kept on falling short? At what time does that belief turn into frustration for a group like this?
It's pretty early on, but I don't know if you guys heard the story about. I think it was Jordan Stahl came out and said at the beginning of the year, Brindamore had them picking up 20-pound pieces of concrete, and they all didn't know why the whole year. And then it finally came to the end of the year when they won the cup, and they said the amount of weight that they're picking up concrete while they're doing their exercises was the same amount that the Stanley Cup weighed when they pick it up. So I guess when you're a coach and you have that belief really early, you just say, hey guys, it's up to you guys now. I have the belief in you. The organization has the belief in you guys. It's time for you guys to believe, and this is what you've been working for the whole time.
Yep.
And it's just the crazier thing is like you just said about the Brindamore stat, how he won the cup when he was playing, and then won it as coach. If you look at Carolina's franchise, they have 103 career playoff wins. And I believe the stat was that Brindamore has been a part of 101 of them.
Yeah.
So when you have that guy that just puts so much belief, he's done it himself, and then he puts that belief that he had in your organization, and he is yoked, like you said, and his charisma and his energy.
Yeah.
You'd run through a wall for that guy.
Yep.
So just what he brings to it just shows you all the energy and all the passion in organization. You need to believe that you can do it early.
No, absolutely. And to a point that you actually brought up in there, Philly, I'm going to go to you. Is there something different about a coach who's actually been through that exact moment as a player, like from a player's perspective?
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, like, so look, the way that Brindamore coaches his teams is very specific. You know, you're asking a Flyers fan what my feelings are on Brindamore, and I am of course happy that he won a cup as a player, and
Yeah.
I'm happy that he is doing well as a coach. What I think a lot of people might have missed if you're not a Flyers fan or you're not from the Philadelphia area is during that exchange at center ice between him and Tocchet, he pulled Tocchet aside at center ice and pointed up to the fans in Philadelphia who, and I need to stress this for people who are not fans of Philadelphia. This doesn't happen here. Gave their team a standing ovation after they got swept,
Yeah.
like spontaneously. Pulled him aside and told Tocchet to stand there and look and say, you know, you did this, right?
Yeah.
So I think that part of that toughness obviously comes from the teams he's played for, and I think that's part of his coaching style.
Yeah.
I think that he, as a player, always played with this concept of a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Um, I just think that my appreciation for Brindamore as a coach is not blinded by the lack of trust I have in the roster, right? And I
Yeah.
think they can both be true. The Carolina Hurricanes under coach Rod Brindamore did finish basically runner up in the Eastern Conference Final every single time we would do this.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's hard for me to sit here and be like, is it a massive difference? Of course. Obviously, if you have a player who's won a Stanley Cup as your coach, yeah, that's gonna lend itself to a certain level of understanding that you have as a player that you don't have as a coach.
Yeah.
Do I think that you are more likely to play his style of hockey, knowing that he, being as ripped as he is, will absolutely get out there and skate around you if
Yeah.
you don't? Yes, but it's hard for me to quantify 1 plus 1 because I think that for me, yes, they've now gotten over the hump. I want to see what they do now
Yeah.
because that's going to tell me whether or not this was just a blip and lightning struck in a bottle and it just so happened they had an easier path, or whether or not this is sustainable. And I don't know which.
Absolutely. And, really quickly, I want to blow through a couple things that I was going to ask you guys questions about, but I don't think we need to go to. Some of the guys in the chat are hitting the nail on the head. Prod, Volt, kind of agreeing there that, Carolina did have a little bit of an easier run than it was in the Western Conference, despite, like we've been talking about, how strong that Eastern Conference is. Some of the teams that they had to go through, right? Like, they did have something of an easier run. You can argue that them beating Montreal the way they did was a little unexpected, but they still got the job done. Want to say really quickly, like to see Jordan Staal raising the Conn Smythe, I think that's a testament to the style of hockey that Carolina played. Becoming the oldest Conn Smythe Trophy winner in NHL history. It was just a really, really good look. And I think it was the perfect representation, again, on how the boys won this championship. What I do want to get to, though, really quickly is the goaltending story, right? Because Brandon Bussi started Game 4 after Frederik Andersen, had most of the run. He won the 3 straight games to close out the final in 6 games, posting that 22-save shutout in Game 6. Carolina rode Frederik Andersen for much of the postseason, but Brandon Bussi gets the opportunity and winds up winning 3 straight games to win the Stanley Cup, including that shutout in Game 6. How difficult is the situation for both goaltenders, right? One guy helped get you there. Suddenly the other guy gets the hot hand and you ride him right to the finals. Like, there is obviously Crosby, if we're talking about it. Yes,
2016.
Frederik Andersen got him there, but like, there were times where he didn't look good. And we all know Freddie, right? So, like, how difficult is that for both goalies now coming out of this season?
So, for me being a Penguins fan, I've seen this exact same scenario in 2016 and 2017.
Yeah.
So we had Matt Murray and Marc-Andre Fleury, and Fleury would play half the season. He'd be really good. Then Matt Murray would come in. He'd be unbelievable. But with Matt Murray, he has the problem that he would get hurt a week before the playoffs started or
Yeah.
first round of the playoffs. So Fleury, prime example, is against the Washington Capitals, is the only reason we beat them in 7 games to move on. It's very easy to say, oh, well, he's the good goalie, but then you go to a goalie who's just as hot
Yeah.
and has rest now, so he's going to be good. But going towards this Carolina team, the problem with Freddie Anderson always has been his playoff performance. He's been terrible when he was on the Anaheim, he was terrible in the playoffs. When he was in the Leafs, he was terrible in the playoffs.
Yes.
And for the first few seasons in Carolina, he was terrible in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He did great against Ottawa, who really have an offensive team, because Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle are trying to play physical bodies when Tim Stützle should be a 50 goal scorer, but he's trying to play physical.
Yeah.
So easy run there. Philadelphia is too young, but Philadelphia could probably play the same style as Carolina and beat them.
Yeah.
And then you go to Montreal. The only reason they made it that far was because of Montembeault. Against Tampa Bay in
Yeah.
Game 7, they had 8 shots and 1.
Yeah.
And then you go to the Carolina series. I think it was Game 5 and 6. I believe they had 8 shots. And going into the third period, they had 3 shots going into the third period.
Yeah.
You can't win a game like that. So Freddie was not tested. And then you go to play Vegas, who has Mark Stone and Jack Eichel, who love to shoot the puck a lot.
Yeah.
You started seeing when you had teams that actually shot the puck that Freddie would struggle. And Carolina lost so much faith in Freddie, or he got hurt. I don't know what it was fully. Freddie Anderson wasn't even the E-bug anymore.
No.
They got rid of him completely. They called some other guy up to be the E-bug for Freddie Anderson. Freddie Anderson only dressed in the game that they were going to win or had the chance to win the cup. And that's the only reason he dressed. But he wasn't even – he was sitting in the stands with the crowd.
Yeah. No, 100%. Quick follow-up on that to you, Philly. As the goalie in the room, is this where coaching becomes less about loyalty and more about simply recognizing the moment and sticking with the hot hand in a situation like this?
They win the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, exactly, right?
No, seriously, did they win the Stanley Cup?
They sure did.
Do both guys get their name on the Stanley Cup?
They sure do.
Then who the fuck cares?
Fair. That is actually a very, very fair point.
No, like seriously, like this is my response to this, is that at the end of the day, it takes an entire team to win a championship. And that means that sometimes you just got to shake it up. And I don't think anybody in that room was punching holes in the wall because they didn't, like, if they weren't playing well, they would not want to be out there. Like, that's what we're talking about here. You want to be the reason your team fails to win a championship?
Yeah.
So I think that, like, both guys have a stake to saying that they helped get the team there. I think that ultimately, though, if a team just has your number, and you switch it up, and if it doesn't work, okay. And if you're in the position of being ahead in the series and you have the luxury to do that, great. And so, yeah, no, I don't think it mattered at all. I'm pretty sure it was a pretty straightforward conversation.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing. Okay.
Yeah. No, you kind of figure that it has to be, right? Obviously. We can talk about how dominant 16-3 was again, right? Like, you'll hear versions of this on both sides, whether it was an easy road, whether it was a hard road, whether it was a mediocre road. However you look at it, 16-3 is absolutely fantastic, right? It's almost absurd when you stop and think about it. You're talking about losing 3 games over 4 playoff rounds. It's absolutely wild. You lose fewer games during the entire postseason than a lot of Stanley Cup champions lose in a single series, right? So
yeah, of that 16-3, let's not forget 7 of those went to overtime.
Yes, that is a fact that I was going to bring up, right? But I don't think we can not acknowledge the Vegas side of this story, right? They reached another Stanley Cup final, gave Carolina a difficult series. They took a 2-1 series lead early before Carolina won the final 3 games. When you look at Vegas after this loss, does this feels like the end of anything, or is this still the team you expected to be right back to, like, right back in the conversation next season, right? Crosby?
It's hard to say because their division was absolutely
Shit.
terrible, and they got
Yes.
lucky.
They
Yes.
should have been
They got
disqualified from
lucky
the
that they were,
playoffs.
and I think teams realized that you could get to Carter Hart's head because I don't want to go fully into discussion, but like once he played his first game in Carolina and he played a rowdy crowd, and once they started talking about his situation,
Yeah.
it seemed like his game started to diminish because it got to his head. But Mark Stone, he's getting older and slower. Jack Eichel, he gets hurt a lot now. You're never probably going to get the same playoff experience that you got from Marner because we've never seen that before. But
Hold on.
they have a
Can I really quickly stop you there? Oh, we never saw a run like that from Marner. Yes, in games 1 through 4.
That's what I was saying. I wrote that down. I have a huge point. That was my 2 points. Is after Game 3, Mitch Marner and
Yeah,
their magic disappeared. They looked terrible.
100%.
Marner looked like he was back on the Leafs again.
Yep.
And then, but they have pieces that they could do. Like no one thought that Howden was going to be as good as he was, but he was unbelievable. He had more goals in the playoffs than he did all regular season. So it's just like you don't know if they're going to be unbelievable or if they're going to be terrible like they were all regular season and get lucky because their division was so bad. So if you get like, even if you get in between, like maybe they can make a deep run because they've been there, but they have to get there. That's the scary thing is they have to get there first.
Yeah, and looking at some of the moves that were made, right? Obviously, that division is going to get a little bit tougher in the upcoming season.
Hard to be worse.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to throw this question to you because it sounded like you had a lot to say there, Philly.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's just be honest here, okay? So the top of the Western Conference was incredibly dominant. I don't think anybody would argue there. You ever seen like the three-headed dragon meme? Okay, like the Western Conference, like the one division with Colorado and all those guys. Okay, that's one head. The derpy dragon that we actually had to take off of the meme because of how stupid they were. It was offensive to include them with the other people. That one. They are that bad. Like, I cannot express to you enough that every single team in the Eastern Conference, if they played in that division, would have been a playoff team. If an entire conference can field a playoff team in your division, you don't get to go to the playoffs. You just forfeit. The end. Like, I don't care. That is not like bad. That is honest to God embarrassingly bad. That is offensive to me as a hockey fan that you're going to make me sit through those teams playing in the playoffs. And then of course one of those teams is going to make the Stanley Cup final because the teams they had to play to get to even into the playoffs was shit. Like, if you don't look, if we're in the Coliseum, if you're a gladiator, and if the person you're fighting just went through 17 battles against other humans, and you had to kill a bunny, who do you think's gonna have an advantage when it comes time for you two to fight each other? Like, dead ass. It's not gonna be the person who just had to fight his way, like limping in, and you had to kill a bunny.
Yeah.
Like, and so like there is that part of it. As far as Carter Hart's head, well, I don't think anybody should ever want to be in there personally. And I mean, say what you want, but 4 goals consistently is just, yeah. I mean, congratulations to him. He did make the Stanley Cup final, and he owns a record that I'm not sure will ever be beaten.
Yeah.
4 goals against. But look, I mean, if I gave either of you $1,000 and said, "Are you betting on either of these teams to win the Stanley Cup next year?" Like rent free, like you could bet any team. But it has to be those two.
Yeah.
Like, or are you taking the field?
Well, see, you just kind of like hit on my closer, right? So, we got the banner raising that's going to be coming up at the start of the season. This is where we're going to close this one out, guys. We're going to move on to the next story. But at some point next season, that banner goes up in Raleigh, right? Once that happens, Carolina begins the road on the hardest challenge in hockey, trying to do it again. So the final question here is, guys, are the Hurricanes your early favorite to repeat, or is there another team you like better?
Other team.
I don't even have them in my top 10.
Yeah, right. I know. I know. Like I said, I have to ask. We gotta take a look. There's definitely
Can I
there's
ask? Can
definitely
I phone a
another
friend? Will the Florida Panthers be playing this season? Yes or no? Are they
Right.
taking this year off as well?
I
Because if they are, then yeah, I mean Carolina is probably the favorite. If they aren't,
yeah,
then Carolina should just prepare probably for an exit whenever they
yeah,
run into Florida,
yeah.
as is becoming yearly tradition.
Let's go. Carolina's championship gave us the final answer to the 25-26 season, but almost immediately after the cup was handed out, the focus shifted to the offseason. It didn't take long for the league to give us something enormous to talk about because one of the biggest names in Canadian hockey suddenly found himself wearing a different jersey. Brady Tkachuk is no longer an Ottawa Senator. Um, what happened next may have completely changed the direction of both of these franchises, right? Like, um, June 21st, the Ottawa Senators trade their captain Brady Tkachuk to the Florida Panthers. And the return was substantial, right? Ottawa receiving the 9th and 25th overall picks in the 26th draft, Florida's second round pick in 27, and a conditional first round pick in 29. So that's like 3 first round picks and a second. But here's what makes it different from simply saying Ottawa decided to cash in on the captain. Brady Tkachuk requested that trade. There were already rumors coming out of Ottawa before all this happened, right? So it wasn't necessarily a giant shock. Steve Staios confirmed after the deal was completed that it was Brady Tkachuk that requested the trade, and that's where I think this becomes a much more complicated conversation than simply asking who won this trade. Now, guys, I obviously don't want to overthink it, but when you first saw this trade come across, to you first, Crosby, what was like your immediate reaction?
Not worth 3 first round picks.
Wow.
Not even close.
Okay.
He's not even half the player his brother is.
Yeah.
Brady Tkachuk does nothing in the playoffs, and he's never had more than 70 points in his career. They're giving 3 firsts for that. That's crazy. If you could put in a perfect scenario, if you could put Matthew Tkachuk in Brady's body, and so Brady had Matthew's skill,
Yeah.
that'd be one of the best hockey players in the NHL.
Hmm.
Matthew is the wannabe tough guy that he's tough, but then he turtles out. Brady Tkachuk is the psychopath that will fight anyone, but he doesn't have the same skill his brother does.
He's a little bit of a bitch too. He starts shit and doesn't finish it in certain situations.
But he'll do it more than Matt will.
No,
but Matt is
for sure.
Matt's a great player.
No. Philly, same question.
Well, I mean, in terms of locker room fit and culture, it's a slam dunk.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if Florida likes to throw rats, they've got a team full of literal rats. I mean, in A plus B, I mean, if NHL needs a villain,
Yeah.
I mean, they're there. In terms of what they paid to give up for him, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, if you have a competent organization, sure. On the other hand, do we trust Ottawa to be able to draft successfully?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about franchises here that can have all the picks in the world and still miraculously find a way to screw it up. So,
Yeah.
I mean, on the surface, is Tkachuk worth, what was it, 3 first rounders, I think?
Yeah, 3 first and a second. Yeah.
Three first and a second?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, anybody, you get the right person in a bar drunk and high, anything makes sense, I suppose. But I felt like we always talk about who won the trade. Is there a way both sides lost? Because I don't necessarily know that Ottawa essentially getting glorified second round picks, because these will be late first round picks, so let's just call them what they are. They're glorified second round picks probably. And all right, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's Florida side, or that's like Ottawa side. You don't get a lot back, but obviously they didn't want him there. It was a whole locker room thing, I guess.
Yeah.
And on Florida side, does this make you, on paper, arguably better than you were? Well, I mean, it better because in addition to this trade, Florida's strategy for the next, however long you're allowed to trade future draft picks is fuck the draft. We don't need it.
Yeah.
Because they are just giving them away like hotcakes. So I don't really know. I think like on the one hand, he is still under 2 years on it, like his deal.
2 years. Yeah.
So like it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, it certainly was a big move. I don't know what the market was in terms of other teams clamoring to get to this guy.
No, no, exactly, right. And like when I first heard the news for myself, right, like I couldn't figure out if I was more surprised that Ottawa traded Brady or that Brady wanted out of Ottawa, right? Like again, right? We heard the rumors and whatever, right? But to actually have that full confirmation that no, he was talking about it, he wanted out. That's wild, absolutely wild. Tkachuk is leaving Ottawa after 8 regular seasons. He played 572 regular season games, recording 213 goals, 250 assists for 463 points, along with 821 penalty minutes. He also played in all 10 of Ottawa's playoff games over the last 2 seasons. In 25-26, despite playing only 60 games, he still recorded 22 goals and 59 points. Prod actually bringing up in the chat, like Crosby, he did have a couple like really good seasons there. Now again, right, players around him are obviously going to help with that, but still, like with a busted up hand, 22 goals, 59 points, there is definitely some skill there, right? Ottawa isn't trading a veteran in his prime; they're trading a 26-year-old, right? He's their captain. He's already played, like I said, over 570 games. He scored more than 200 goals. He signed for 2 more seasons at $8.214 million on the cap. Players like that generally aren't the players that you're trying to get rid of, right? Like they're the type of players that you're trying to find. So even with the first 3 picks coming back, like how did the Ottawa Senators actually replace what Brady Chuck did give them? Right? Like that's my question. Like, yes, maybe it wasn't worth it, but what you're losing, right? You're not just going to find that in a draft pick.
I disagree, for the record.
Okay.
I disagree too, especially this year.
Well, I mean, just for the record, briefly, I want to stress that he did request out. He did activate his new movement clause. He did only give 4 teams he was willing to go to: Florida, Vegas, Carolina, and Minnesota, as I understand it.
Yeah.
And for the record, those are the 4 teams that can be a locker room culture fit, I guess, for him. What does Ottawa get from this? Well, they get a chance to reset, right? Because it was very clear that he was not going to lead you to the promised land. Also, say what you want to say about the Olympics, but clearly that turned up some real strong feelings amongst certain players and certain teams on both sides of the border. And we won't really know how much that played into it, but like there was a pretty clear uncomfortableness when he came back after having won the gold medal. And so I think that like Ottawa pretty much saw the writing on the wall. And to be fair, this is the best offer they probably could have gotten for him.
For sure.
I mean, it's 3 first-round picks, as I understand it. And I think one of them is top 10 protected.
Yes.
There's also a second in there. But like Prod said, it wasn't really ever like Brady Tkachuk felt like he was a fit for the Senators. The Senators have a very specific way about them, the way they play. It's always been how they play, the way they carry themselves. It's just kind of like the Senators' way, so to speak. And he just, every single time with him in Ottawa, it just felt like if his team was going left, he was going right. If his team said shoot, he was gonna pass. And I don't know where the disconnect was. So I get why they did it.
Yeah.
The real question of this conversation becomes, where are we from 2 years from now, and is he going to re-sign in Florida when they're an old team?
Well, yeah, because his brother's there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think he's going to do whatever his brother does and whatever Daddy tells him to do.
Yeah. To be fair, I believe with that pick from this year, Ottawa traded that to San Jose and got Eklund.
Yes.
And I think in the long run, I'd take Eklund over Brady.
Yeah, 100%. Yo, let's go, Jay Hyde, with the resub. Thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate it. Okay, let's. I'm going to move on to like the next part of this, which is going to be very important because all this has to do with the fans. But I want to get to kind of the fan reaction out of Ottawa. So again, for those who don't know, I'm a Bruins fan. I live just north of Toronto. I grew up in Toronto, Ontario, right in the Leafs market as a Bruins fan. It's hard with family and friends that are Leaf fans for reasons. But, you know, close enough to Ottawa, have a bunch of friends that are Ottawa Senators fans, and it was mixed, to say the very least, right? You know, there seemed to be something more personal about this because Brady wasn't just another star who passed through Ottawa. A lot of the fan base did embrace him, right? He was their captain. I remember every time they played Florida, they were chanting "Brady's better," which again we can argue that one all day. He repeatedly himself talked about wanting to win there and build something there, and then ultimately he's the one that has to leave. In the Ottawa fan communities, right, immediately after the trade, some supporters talked explicitly about feeling that, you know, Brady's better chance and his previous comments about wanting to win in Ottawa simply meant nothing. Others emphasized just how strongly the city had embraced him and expressed genuine disappointment rather than simple hockey anger. Other fans, though, like if you were looking online, were considerably harsher on this one. There was immediately discussions about, you know, booing his return after the Olympics, changing the captaincy, and even getting rid of the Kachuk jerseys. But, and this is important, there was another group saying something closer to, if he didn't want to be here, then take the assets and move forward, right? Which I think is definitely kind of the best way to look at it and move forward, right? Some were even relieved, arguing that Ottawa might eventually become a more balanced team without building so much of its identity around Brady Tkachuk, who, again, like you guys pointed out, some people felt didn't necessarily fit in the scheme of things. So when a captain asks out, and like I just want to hit on this really quick. When a captain asks out, you know, why does the fan reaction feel so much more personal than when it's just a normal player, right? Like, is it fair that the fans feel that way, or do the fans sometimes interpret the word captain as a lifetime commitment that a player has to make? Crosby?
It really depends on like what fan base you are a fan of.
Yeah.
Like, if you're an original, like, it's easier for an Ottawa fan to be less pissed off about it because they're not like, you're not an original team. Like, if you're named the Montreal Canadiens captain and you ask for a trade, there's a likelihood that you might be hated forever. But then if you go to like Vegas, if you're a captain, you ask for, it's like you're newer. It's not as like original. It's not as big of a deal. But like, he showed signs last year at the Four Nations that he wanted out.
Yes.
Like, you can say that he bought in, but like in the playoffs, it didn't look like he cared too much. He wasn't playing the same way. Like, yeah, he had the fight with Jordan Staal in the first game of the round of the playoffs, but like it just didn't seem like he wanted to care too much. He didn't. It kind of looks like Matthews sometimes, but not all the time. Like when they played for the States, it's like, oh my god, it's a huge deal.
Yeah.
But like that same Brady wasn't playing that way in Ottawa, but
No.
when he was on the States, it was completely different. So I just like fans sometimes will overreact because like, oh, this is our team, like we gotta hate the guy, and then someone on the outside's like, yeah, maybe it's not a big deal, but like it, like I said, it depends what franchise you played for and how big of a deal it actually is, because some fan bases, like we know, are like even Philadelphia.
Yeah.
We're gonna get there.
They'd castrate Brady if he was that. So it just depends where you are.
Nope. Agreed. And I'm going to throw the same question to you there, Philly, because obviously, you know, you've covered some sports and in some pretty passionate markets, right? Like, is this a fair question?
So rephrase the question to me exactly how you asked it.
You know, when a captain asks out, you know, why does the fan reaction feel so much more personal when, yeah.
You quit on the team. You quit on the city. You quit on me. You quit on the fans. That's your answer. It doesn't matter if you're the wheeling nailers of Timbuk. Like, doesn't matter, right? If any player quits on the team and it happens publicly, yeah, you're going to hear about it. And I can give you 2 examples of non-captains. Cutter Gauthier quit on the Flyers. He
Mhm.
plays in Anaheim. You know what the most intense game for the Flyers every single year is? When we play the Ducks here, it feels like World War III.
Yeah.
I go to that parking lot, Steve and I go, and we pregame at 10 a.m. for a 7 p.m. puck drop because our hatred for this kid cannot be measured simply because he said, I wanted to be a Flyer. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden he didn't.
Yeah.
And he quit on us. And he quit on the team.
Yeah.
I will never have respect for him. And I hope he never gets anywhere close to a championship.
No. No.
Now, that's not even a captain. Okay? And for the record, I know that Volt's like, oh, well, we have problems in Philly. The Penguins are notorious for doing this too because they are also a hardworking city. It is kind of a fan base-esque question, which is to say that certain fan bases are a little more receptive or a little less receptive of it. But, like, ultimately, that is elevated even more when you're wearing a captaincy, and here's why. Usually, the captaincy is not just decided by a coach. Usually, that's a team decision.
Yeah.
So for you to look your teammates dead in the eyes, essentially, take that responsibility, take that captaincy, and then say, nah, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to hurt a bit more. At the same time, you know, and say for this what you will, Ottawa is not 100% innocent in running him out of town here either.
No.
Like, and that
absolutely
is
not.
the part of this that I think needs to be said. Tkachuk won a gold medal, and it pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah.
And he did not handle it well when he got back either. This might be a situation where a move probably needed to be made. The Panthers were probably willing to overpay for it because his brother was there. And like, yeah, so why does it feel more personal when any person leaves? Is because we have a connection to these teams.
Yeah.
But it does feel especially personal when essentially the face of your franchise, you know, up and leaves on bad terms. That's why.
Nope, for sure. You know, I was actually going to hold this story off until next week's, but since you brought it up, I'm actually going to roll with it because I kind of, before we get to the Florida side of the equation here, there was something that I kind of did want to talk about, and you hit on it there. There's another layer to the story that I think we have to address because of the hindsight and some noise from earlier in the year makes all this look very different. During and after the Olympics, there was a lot of chatter around the American players and their situations with NHL clubs, in particular about some American stars playing in Canadian markets. With Brady specifically, there were reports afterwards that his father, Keith Tkachuk, had been telling people in hockey circles at the Olympics that Brady wanted out of Ottawa. Now, we need to be careful here. Like, this is reported, so I don't want to, get me out of Canada bullshit. No. In fact, when those rumors followed him back to Ottawa, Brady publicly pressed back on them. At the end of April, he said that he was fully committed to staying with the Senators and that he never stated he wanted to leave. Less than 2 months later, he's a Florida Panther, and Steve Sales confirms that Brady requested a trade. So now I have to ask, how much smoke was coming out of Milan? Like, how much smoke was actually coming out of Milan, right? When you're around major international tournament like that, how much information gets exchanged behind the scenes between players, agents, and executives, the media and the public doesn't necessarily hear about until months later, right?
Enough. I've been in those rooms enough.
Yeah.
The answer is enough.
I also think it was publicly known that Brady wanted out, not even from his dad, because him and Matthew jokingly talked about him or them playing together on their podcast.
Yes. No, 100%.
So, like, even with if his dad did say that, you still have a whole fan base that's seen this clip of them saying they wanted to play together, and Ottawa wasn't going to give up what they wanted to get Matthew. So the only other reason was either Brady was going to leave when he was a free agent or they were going to trade for him.
Please don't put me in a position to have to defend Tkachuk on this podcast. I don't want to have to take that stance.
No.
But I mean,
Wouldn't make you
but
know.
like the reality is I will. So all of that is great. And at the same time, it does suck that the captain of the Senators decided to deuces, I'm out. The Senators fans also greeted him on his first game back by the Olympics with a chorus of boos that I can only assign to the fact that they didn't win a gold medal. And so here's my question to everybody. If Canada wins gold in Milan, is Brady Tkachuk still on the Senators?
Right.
I mean, but you can say that, but they also booed Jake Sanderson, who was on the same team.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying that that is better. What I'm saying, perhaps, and I think we're going to get into this a little bit later, is that you should not have to feel like you are playing in a hostile environment
Absolutely.
when you are at a home game.
Absolutely.
And if you are the captain of that, at a certain point, you probably do go, hey, you know, maybe this isn't the fit for me. And look, I don't like Tkachuk. I have like zero good things to say about him. So I do not want to have to be the one out here saying this on his behalf. But I will, which is to say that I think it's a give and take. I think both sides handled it poorly. I think the Senators did not do enough to get in front of the fact of reminding people that club and country is different.
Yes.
And I think Tkachuk is a little bitch who didn't do help the situation either.
No.
That's kind of my opinion.
No, absolutely not. And like, we're not going to get into exact names here, but Brady wasn't the only American player whose future became part of the conversation, right? There was a broader narrative after the Olympics about American stars reconsidering where they wanted to play. Now, how much of that we believe was actually connected to the Olympic experience, or how much was people finding a pattern after the fact, especially after the Brady trade, right? It's important because, like, the Team USA players collectively decided that they were out of Canada is not an established fact, right? I can't substantiate that, as like aside from the reporting that we had gotten out of certain outlets, right? There was absolutely some public conversation connecting the dots, right? Hockey communities were specifically discussing Brady Tkachuk, Quinn Hughes, Connor Hellebuck, and others asking, whether the Olympics had an influence on these American players and their thinking. But that's better characterized as theory and narrative surrounding the offseason, not evidence of some Team USA impact, which I think for a lot of Canadians, that's what we have to take from this fucking conversation, guys. You're not the main player character. We are not the main player character. Fucking get over yourselves. The distinction. So the question becomes bigger than Brady, right? At this point, is there actually an American player / Canadian market problem, or is it us and the media that are creating the narrative from several unrelated situations, right? Canadian taxes, media scrutiny, privacy, climate and geography, endorsement opportunities, pressure of Canadian hockey markets. American players wanting to be closer to family, obviously, right? The attraction of markets such as Florida, winning versus lifestyle, whether, nationality actually has anything to do with these individual decisions, I don't think is something that we can characterize based on, a couple of stories. But if you're running a Canadian NHL team right now, does any of this affect how you look at drafting American superstars, Crosby?
So I'm going to go back, and we're going to go all the way back to American grassroots hockey.
Yeah.
All of these players, when they go play for their Olympic teams, they have the USNDP. Canada doesn't have that here.
Yes.
So you have players. I'll name the three big examples that a whole thing on it in the Olympics was Brady Tkachuk, Matthews, and Matthew Tkachuk. Every single year, Austin Matthews is at the Tkachuk house for Thanksgiving, and they're playing tackle football since they were a kid. And you go play in these high intense games with these kids that you grew up with your whole life playing hockey with, and now you beat your biggest rival in hockey in Canada, and then you're not playing with your best friends anymore. Like the biggest, we talk about how the captaincy and the Canadian market, but the biggest one, if you look at Detroit, look at Dylan Larkin. He played with all those American guys, and now he wants out of Detroit.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they haven't found a trade for him. So, like, if you're Detroit, what do you do now? You have a captain that doesn't want to be there
Yeah.
and doesn't want to play for your team. He's basically quit and says he doesn't want to play.
Yeah.
But you can't find a destination for him to go because he's being so strict on where he wants to go because he wants to go play with all the guys that he grew up with. So I think like you can look at it saying it's like, how do you draft these superstars? It's kind of they all played together their whole time like growing up, so it's kind of hard. Like, do you want to take the risk on these American superstars? Which of course you would. Anyone's going to take Connor Hellebuyck. Anyone's going to take Quinn Hughes. Anyone's going to take these players. So I think it's like you just take the bullet, and you take these players because like they're gonna help you win. And even if they only want to be there for a year, like if in that year you win, like who cares? You got to win out of that. It's like I'll put into an example that like we're not talking about the sports, but basketball. The Raptors traded for Kawhi Leonard for 1 year.
Yeah.
They won a championship. Who cares if after that year he's gone? If you win a championship in that year that you get that player,
Yeah.
who cares what happens after?
No. 100%.
I want to push back.
Hold on,
here.
actually, Philly, like I do have a question, and you can definitely go on that because it is basically along the same lines. You know, I'm not suggesting that the Canadian teams should pass on the best player just because of the passport. But if you're choosing between comparable prospects, is willingness to spend the prime of his career in a Winnipeg, Ottawa, Edmonton, Calgary, something that scouts and general managers have to look at when they're making those decisions, right? Like when you're scouting a player, how much work is actually done on the things like personality, family, where they want to live, and whether you think they're going to commit long term to your organization.
Well, I mean, Eric Lindros would like a word, guys. I mean, we want to talk about Americans not wanting to play for teams and throwing hissy fits about teams and are they going to play for this team? I can give you how many Canadians who literally are the textbook example. Like,
Yeah.
don't make this a nationality thing.
No,
I
and that's
mean,
what I'm saying.
But the reality is, Eric Lindros straight up told the team that drafted him, I don't want to play for you. And you know what that team did anyways? They still drafted his ass.
Yep.
And they did end up trading him. But I mean, like, it's not like you don't have pre-draft interviews with these guys. And it's not like a question comes out of like, well, how do you feel about spending X amount of years in, I don't know, Winnipeg or Manitoba? Does that get you excited prospecting 18? Do you love the snow? How about the Stampede? Do you like horses?
Yeah.
Come on over to Calgary. We got plenty of those. I mean, so I think that the narrative here is, oh, these guys played together and they wanna go on like this, play with their friends tournament bullshit. And the answer is that's adamantly false. I mean, yeah, they play in the development program, sure, but I mean, the only time that this narrative comes up is when Canada loses a gold medal, and I just don't think that that's a fair thing to do to the American hockey program.
No.
I mean, who wouldn't want to play with your friends? That is a fair thing to say. At the same time, if you're stupid enough to trade your star player who
Yes.
you have under contract, that's not on us. And I don't hear
No.
a lot coming from the Canadian side about Connor McDavid wanting the hell out of Edmonton to go chase a championship. And so I think that this conversation needs to be put into the appropriate light, which is the Americans did something at the national level that they haven't done in my life, which is they finally won a gold medal.
Yeah.
And that came as a surprise to a lot of people, myself included. And so there's a lot of question answering, a lot of things that could not have been foreseen reaction-wise.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you're a professional sports player, yeah, you want to win championships. And if the team you're on is not currently giving you an avenue to do that, you are probably going to ask to go to one that is.
Yes.
That is not uncommon. That is textbook normal.
No, 100%. And again, I wasn't going to bring any of this up, but like, allow me to elaborate on that for a second, because yes, you will hear certain people making these claims and making these comments. I'm definitely not one of those, Philly. for myself, like when oh my God, when the whole premise of the Hockey Talk with Talk or Hockey Talk with Chalk podcast, wow, man, I can't even speak right now, came to be, and we tried this out the first time. I was trying it out with a couple of buddies, and shit happened. It failed, right? Which is why I always wanted to bring it back, but I wanted to make sure I was in a better place to do it. At that point, what we were talking about then was, and I'm sure you'll remember this as well, Crosby, was Canadian hockey opened up the rules allowing the CHL, so OHL, WHL, QMJHL players to go to American universities to play, right? So that they didn't have to stay stuck here in Canada. The reason why we saw that and the reason why that was so important was because the American college teams, like the NCAA on, hockey has gotten so much better. So much better.
We love college hockey.
Yes, and like you're seeing it grow exponentially. Even on the women's side, we're seeing, massive growth in the NCAA hockey, which is absolutely fantastic. No, America hockey is getting much, much better. Like, we're going to have a little bit of a conversation on something later, which, I still question, right? What are the big changes that we need for, Hockey Canada? Because it seems like it's getting fucking stale, right? Like, I don't know. Like, the Americans are doing things in the right way, and I think this is, I think there's also something... you know what? I'm gonna leave it at that because we do need to keep on going here. What I will say is this, right? Like, the only question that people need to ask themselves here is, from the player's perspective, you're 26 years old. You've given it 8 years to an organization. You've been through some pretty lean seasons. That team that you've been with has not gotten out of the first round on their current run, right? At what point, like, do you as a player have the right to say, you know what, fuck it, I want out of here? Like, I want to go somewhere where I can win, right? Like, I don't see, like, where the whole struggle session, like, really started here, but, like, obviously it is a major part of the conversation. And I think, it's only the captaincy that really charged it all, right? From the Florida side of this, though, right? One Kachuk wasn't enough, I guess. I don't know. So you give that line a second. Now Brady joins Matthew in South Florida. And Florida obviously isn't just bringing him as a project, right? Like Bill Zito described him as exactly the type of player that they wanted, physical, relentless, and a proven leader. So now you got Matthew and Brady wearing the same uniform. For the Atlantic Division, Crosby, is that terrifying, or is there a legitimate argument that Florida is becoming too concentrated around one particular style of hockey?
Definitely one style of hockey. Because if you're going to look at it, you got Brady, you got Matthew.
Yeah.
They went and got Radko Gudas back, who's the
Yes.
same type of player.
Yep.
And they got Sam Bennett.
Yep.
Lost probably in the last 3 years, one of the best goalies that's played in the playoffs in the last 3 years. And they decided to replace that goaltender with Jacob Markstrom, who struggled
Yeah.
a terrible amount in the last 2 years. And they think Jacob Markstrom is going to fill the need of Bobrovsky.
Yep.
Which, don't know, you're going to be a really physical team and you're going to try and bully teams because, like we said, we watched Carolina. That's what they did. They just bullied teams and put their weight on everyone. So you're going to have a heavyweight battle in the Eastern Conference Finals, maybe, seeing what team dies first in the playoffs between Florida and Carolina, because that's all they are, is physicality. Like, players they got rid of in Florida, like Mackie Samoskevich was a great player,
Yes.
but he's not a bruiser like they're going for. They're just trying to outweigh everyone, because you look at the three teams that consistently make it. There's Florida, Tampa, and Carolina, and
Yep.
all they want to do is play physical against each other.
Yep.
So if you see them make it to the Cup and they play Tampa and they play Carolina, don't be surprised if the Western teams dog walk the Stanley Cup, because one of those three teams are going to be dead because all they do is play the same style of hockey.
No. Philly?
I mean, I feel like that's kind of a a pretty generalized like stab at it. I mean, I would argue that from Florida's standpoint, the interview entry point to get to Florida is, are you a rat? Come on in. Are you not a rat?
Hello, Marchand.
No space.
Yeah.
And so, like, when I jokingly said this is a team that notoriously throws those rubber rats on the ice
Yeah.
during the playoffs, I think they might have taken it too literally.
Yeah.
So great for them. But no, I actually think Carolina and Florida play diametrically opposed styles of hockey. For all this talk about physicality from Carolina, they are a quick team. They
Yeah.
are a fast team, and they were very much so built to beat the aforementioned didn't make the playoffs, took a year off conspicuously, Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
And that is where I think it will be interesting because the Panthers, rather than trying to get quicker in anticipation of the speed Carolina has, said, fuck it, give me the guys who, I don't know, just punch each other for fun.
Yeah.
And Carolina said, all right, cool, you do that. So, yeah, whoever comes out of that, good luck. But let's not also sleep before we jump here because we really should change topics. And by the way,
Yes.
Chuck, I'll let you say this. We might be here for a while. I will say this. The Eastern Conference, we are talking about, again, from the top to the bottom teams, like teams that are so close that a player here, a player there, a point here, a point there, that's a playoff spot versus out of it
Yeah.
entirely. And there's a lot of good young teams that are coming up. And I honestly don't know who's coming out of the East this year. I do know it's probably not going to be one of those two.
Yeah.
They're going to kill each other. And I'm here for that.
No, absolutely. Just to add to that really quickly, I know you mentioned a couple of them there, Crosby. The Florida during the offseason also added Lars Eller and Garnet Hathaway. Garnet Hathaway, another one of those guys, though he does bring a little bit of skill. So we'll see how he fits in
Where?
Florida.
Where did you find this skill for Hathaway? And where can I find it?
Right.
It's never showed up for me.
Right. We already answered the question as to whether or not Ottawa, got enough. Yes, I think Florida may have overpaid here. I think that's like the middle beginning and end of the whole story here. Ottawa's going to be coming in with a new identity. Obviously, William Eklund, Andrei Barakovsky added to the forward group while they're continuing to build around the younger core. It's going to be interesting to see how Ottawa looks this coming season, right? I think they had some big plans and fell short, right? And you're going to have Montreal that's getting better in that division. Toronto, I think, is going to take a step forward. I don't think they're going to be finishing next to last this upcoming season. So, they are going to have to be ready for everything that's going to be coming at them. Guys, whichever side you fall on when it comes to Ottawa, and Brady Tkachuk and the whole situation, it doesn't mean taking a step backwards. Some of the assets that were involved immediately become part of a much bigger weekend at the NHL draft. Because while Ottawa was figuring out what life after Brady looked like just down the road in Toronto, the Toronto Maple Leafs were preparing to make the selection they almost never get the opportunity to make. First overall, and with that pick, Toronto has selected Gavin McKenna, which means one of the most highly anticipated Canadian prospects in years is about to begin his career in perhaps the least pressure-filled hockey market imaginable in the NHL, right? Like, least amount of pressure, maybe? I don't know. Nobody's laughing?
I think the Canadian teams take turns drafting number one at this point to see which one is gonna finally find the prospect that eventually says fuck this shit.
Yeah.
I'm playing baseball now.
Yeah.
Just straight up changes sports. Yeah, I mean, look, real talk, obviously. He's coming from Penn State, right?
Yeah.
So he's coming from a big market to a big market, so that might help.
Yes.
Low-key.
Yes.
Yeah, but he's also coming from UConn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, he'll be fine.
Well,
He'll be totally fine.
well, let's just say that there was very little drama surrounding the first overall selection. Toronto selected Gavin McKenna, first overall, 18-year-old left winger from Whitehorse, UConn. McKenna spent the last season at Penn State and put up 51 points in 35 games as a freshman. He signed his entry-level contract. The expectation right now is that he plays for the Maple Leafs this season. A lot of questions and speculation as to what line he's going to play on. People that are already speculating that he's going to be on that top line with Matthews, which for development's sake, I don't know if this kid is ready, but I guess we're going to find out through a shortened preseason, so to speak. Crosby, you've watched elite young players develop. When you look at Gavin McKenna, what makes him different from the normal first overall pick?
Well, we now know that he has the moxie and the actual physicality in him.
Yeah.
Because we all know about his incident at Penn State.
Yeah.
And he
The incident.
he stuck up for his mom at a bar, and that shows that he's got grit. Probably that he's Canadian helps him a lot more. But when I look at Gavin McKenna, he's a young kid. He struggled his first half of the year at Penn State.
Yeah.
He's playing with 23-year-olds at that point. In NCAA, the second half he took over and he's the best player in college hockey.
Yes.
He was unbelievable.
No, he was.
When I look at Gavin
Martone
McKenna,
1A 1B guys.
when I look at Gavin McKenna, I see Mitch Marner with better goal scoring ability.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a better shot than Mitch did, and he's just as good as a playmaker. So if you put him on that first line with Matthews and you just ride it, good things will happen.
To follow up on that, is there a part that you think that Toronto fans need to be patient with when it comes to his development?
He is an 18-year-old kid that's played 1 year against older competition and didn't dominate like he did in juniors when he's playing against kids his age or younger. So he's going to have to fill out a bit. He is really small, but that's all you're going to have to wait is wait for him to fill out and wait till just give him like first 2 months, maybe even.
Yeah.
You can't just write him off right away and say, oh, let's put him in the AHL. Just take your time and let him develop as a player.
Yep. For you, Philly, I guess my question would be, we have to look at the Toronto problem, right? Patience is obviously the word, and we're gonna have to stay on that for a minute because Gavin McKenna is he isn't going to San Jose or Anaheim or Columbus, right? To be an 18-year-old who quietly figures things out, so to speak. He's going to Toronto. Every game, every practice, every line combination, every slump, every quote, everything is going to become a story because that's what Toronto is. Is Toronto capable of developing a player that is this highly anticipated without turning every normal part of the 18-year-old's development into a crisis as they have in the past?
No. The answer is no. It's Toronto.
No.
No. But I want to stress that it's worse because an 18-year-old, 19-year-old did just come up from college hockey and did just put up miraculous numbers and did just help a team with an incredibly scrutinizing media. And his name was Porter Martone, and he did put up lights out numbers out the gate and did not need a lot of time to adjust. So I think that problem's actually compounded now for Toronto because they played each other a few times this college season, actually, for the record. I went to a couple of those games. And I do think that in some ways, and this is going to sound bizarre, because Porter Martone did instantly show up and have success, the expectation, fairly or not now, is going to be on McKenna in a media market similar to Philly to show up and instantaneously have success, or people will freak out. Now, they shouldn't. They absolutely should not. Everything that Crosby said is correct. He is a great player. The talent is there. He is the type of player who I think has gone through some of these media markets, especially in college, where it is Penn State, and while it's not Penn State football, it still is Penn State.
Yeah.
You're in the Inquirer every day here. They're talking about it. So I think that will help him in some regards. I do think, weirdly, the best thing I can say about the entire situation is it's been a little bit since the draft. I haven't heard a lot about Gavin McKenna, which is probably the best thing for Gavin McKenna.
Yeah.
Because if Toronto really was incapable of trying to grasp the situation, every single story would have been nonstop at this point. And I think the fact that it's not necessarily all quiet on the Western Front, but that it is quiet enough to where it's not in my news cycle every single day tells me they're treating this with care. It will be important to see what happens though when the lights go on. And I don't know. I mean, Toronto's only ever had 3 picks, number 1 in their entire history. I will give either of you $20 if you could tell me who they are. Obviously, one of them's McKenna. Chalk, you probably know the answer, but do you know who the other 2 were?
For Toronto?
Toronto's 3 number 1 overall picks.
McKenna, Clark, and fuck, who's the third?
I'm 34.
Oh yeah, Matthews. Fuck.
Yeah.
In Buffalo.
How are you gonna get Clark and forget Matthews?
Yeah.
Together?
Well, that draft year, I hated that draft year.
But like,
Anyway.
so it's like,
Anyway.
and this is the thing, right? This is what I'm talking about. It's not like the Oilers who have, in my opinion, the record for worst development team of all time. When Toronto tends to find themselves in this situation, they more or less tend to not fuck it up spectacularly.
Yeah.
My concerns would be more, I guess, exaggerated if we were looking at a player who I don't think was suited for a big market like this.
Yeah.
That's not the case for Gavin McKenna.
Yeah. Well,
and he happens to be able to learn from a former number 1 pick, which will help.
Well, and we'll keep this a little bit tight here, but you know, again, right, as somebody who's worked in media, just to kind of follow up on that one, Philly, let's give some advice here to Toronto media. How do you cover a player like McKenna responsibly when you also know everything involving him generates attention?
Well, I mean, you have to remember that the words that you print and the words that you write, like, they're gonna carry weight, right?
Yes.
Like a small article that you might not see as a big deal could be something that runs a player out of town.
100%.
So my advice to the Toronto media is basically, if you're old enough to have kids, treat him as though he was one of your kids who was 18.
Yeah.
Like, he is a young kid. Like, we have to remember that. He's an incredibly skilled athlete, but he is still figuring it out. There are going to be low points. There are going to be high points.
Yes.
My advice to Toronto media is cover them both like they're average.
Yep.
And don't make him feel any more pressure than he's already going to.
Absolutely. I will quickly state that, you know, this is obviously, you know, incredibly exciting for Leaf fans. This isn't a traditional first overall situation like we saw with Connor Bedard. You know, this guy isn't going into a place where it's like, okay, kid, you know, welcome in, fucking go at it and save us. No, he's going to be going in. He's going to be playing with Austin Matthews. He's going to be playing with William Nylander, right? So there's already some built-in guys there that can, again, you know, Tavares, that can hopefully help him to build to build that career a little bit better than you would see in some other situations. So it is going to be interesting to see how the start of the year looks for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But looking beyond that, Toronto got McKenna, but Crosby, who actually won the draft, right? Toronto got the best player in the draft. That makes them a winner by almost every definition. But I'm not sure that Toronto had the best draft, and me and you were actually talking about this before the show. My money, we need to talk about what Mike Greer did in San Jose.
Yep, 100%. We go back the week before when they traded Eklund. They got that first round pick.
Yeah.
They got Stenberg at 2, who, like every analyst said, between McKenna and Stenberg, it was 1A, 1B,
Yeah.
no matter what. All right, so we go down to the 9th overall pick. Well, everyone's analyst, besides they didn't know about how good his skating was, they said Keaton Verhoff was a top 4 pick in this year's draft.
Yeah.
But they all said because he's 6'5", 230 pounds at 17, they didn't know how well he was going to be able to skate.
And he dropped to 9. Yeah.
And he dropped to 9, and the San Jose not get the defenseman that they need because their offense is really good.
Yeah.
You got Macklin, Celebrini, Stenberg, Michael Misa, and Will Smith. They just they had an AHL level defense on that team, and now you get a 6'6" defenseman that was really good at North Dakota, who I just watched play at the summer showcase,
Yeah.
and looked like the best defenseman on Canada. Unbelievable. Nice. Then you go later and you trade another pick later, and you get the 21st overall pick, and you probably get the best skating defenseman in the draft.
Yeah, right.
At 21 in Lynn.
Yeah.
So you just got 3 first rounds, and you went for what you needed the most, which is defense, and you got 2 who they said Lynn was also another top 10 pick that they got at 21. So they got Stenberg, the defensive core they needed.
Oh.
Both of them, basically.
Yeah. No, 100%. Really quickly, just staying on that, one of the questions that I had for you, because, again, right, I didn't kind of give you any of my prep questions here or anything. Stenberg produced 33 points in 43 games in Frölunda in the SHL. Most by any 18-year-old in the league since Daniel and Hendrik Sedin in 98-99. He's already signed his ELC. The idea of eventually putting Stenberg in, Macklin Celebrini seems almost unfair to that Pacific fucking division. If Stenberg and Celebrini eventually play together, what do you feel like Stenberg is going to bring that'll complement Celebrini rather than simply duplicating what Celebrini already does?
Well, when Celebrini plays hockey, he plays with his head cut off.
Yeah.
He goes on the boards and he fights for the puck no matter what. It's his puck. He doesn't want anyone else to touch it.
Yeah.
He's got a great shot, but Celebrini's first instinct is always to pass, and Stenberg has one of the best shots. So he's just going to feed the puck to Stenberg, and Stenberg's going to shoot.
Yeah.
It's what Celebrini did with Will Smith, and Stenberg is supposed to be better than Will Smith, and look how good Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini was.
Yeah. Oh, man, San Jose is going to be so much fucking fun to watch this season. I cannot wait,
You're forgetting about Misa.
Yeah. Holy shit. Yeah.
Misa's still unbelievable, too.
Yep. I'm telling you, boys, the future is teal. I even as a Bruins fan, like San Jose is always a team that I've had a little bit of a soft spot for because of the Joe Thornton trade when the Bruins traded Thornton there. So that's always kind of set on me. Philly, why don't you answer this from an analyst point of view? Are me and Crosby getting ahead of ourselves here, or is it safe right now to say that San Jose is legitimately building one of the best young cores in hockey?
Well, I mean, you never really know what you have until you know what you have, right?
Yeah.
So what I'll say is this. San Jose had an amazing draft. They have, without a doubt, in my opinion, if not the best, arguably a strong case for the best league, like the best prospect pool in the league. Like to me, it's not close. I do think that we need to not get super ahead of ourselves. Sometimes these players that we draft like high up, they don't always pan out. But on paper right now, if you're San Jose, you got to be feeling pretty good. I will say that, the question mark for me that I found interesting was Chase Reed's slide.
Yes, I was going to bring him up, yeah.
Yeah, then we're talking about a guy who was top 2/3, like almost all year round, expected to go pretty high. Slid to number 7. I think 4th defenseman off the board, went to Seattle.
Yep.
And so you got to ask yourself, what did those other teams think they knew, or what did they know?
Yeah.
And is there something maybe there that we should keep an eye on? I'll also just throw out that, again, like the draft for me, this is one of those cases where it was pretty open, closed, shut from like who was going first overall, even before we got here. Although, to his credit, Stenberg played himself into the conversation.
Yes.
Like while it should not have been a conversation, he played himself into it. And so if you're San Jose and you miss out on McKenna, okay, well, yes, that is unfortunate. But goddamn, did you get one hell of a consolation prize? Because holy hell.
Yeah.
I mean, so from an analyst standpoint, is it too early to say that all these guys are going to pan out? Yes. Is it too early to say that on paper their prospect pool is scary as hell? No, that is a correct assessment, yeah.
Well, good. I feel good about that then. You brought up one of the two guys that I was going to bring up because I wanted to look at a couple of the other draft winners. In my opinion, I do agree with you. Chase Reed going at number 7 to Seattle. Reed considered as one of the best strong right side defensemen available. Great two-way ability among his calling cards. Yo, let's go! We just got a follow on Twitch from Jimbo. Welcome on in to the Legion. The other draft winners that we have here, or to me anyway, Winnipeg. Vigo Bork at number 8, right? Bork is one of the top Swedish talents in the class and went 8th to Winnipeg. He's already signed his ELC. At 5'9", his size might be the obvious question, but I think the skill level makes this an interesting value bet for Winnipeg, and I'm going to be interesting to see how that ends up looking. But now I want to get to the fun part here, guys. And disclaimer: every year immediately after the draft, we do something incredibly unfair, right? We look at a bunch of 16, 17, 18-year-old kids who haven't played a single NHL game and announce which team screwed up. So I'm not going to sit here and call anybody a bust. But there were a few selections when we look across the board and thought, really? And one of the biggest ones for me, guys, Vancouver selecting Caleb Malhotra at number 3. This is fascinating for several reasons. Obviously, Vancouver selecting, Caleb Malhotra 3rd overall. His father is the Canucks head coach, right? NHL.com's analysis specifically noted that the family relationship likely didn't drive the decision and highlighted Caleb as a big, intelligent, skilled center, the type of player that the organization can build around. However, some independents, I'm not going to get into too many names here, but post-draft grading viewed the selection as less convincing at number 3 because other prospects were regarded as having way higher upside here. So let's address the elephant in the room. Vancouver takes Caleb Malhotra at number 3. His father happens to be the head coach of Vancouver Canucks. Doesn't necessarily mean that it was nepotism, but can you possibly expect nobody to talk about it? Like, take the last name completely off of the jersey. Is Caleb Malhotra the 3rd best player in the draft, Crosby?
After watching him play, I can say he's the 3rd best player.
Really?
Yeah, I watched him. He is a very good two-way player.
Okay.
And he's very physical. And you also got to look into consideration. He's not going to play in Vancouver for 2 years. He's already committed to the University of Boston to play for 2 years at least. So his dad might not even be there in 2 years. We never know.
Yeah.
But he's going to go develop in the NCAA against men at his size. He's 6'2", 285 pounds at 18 years old.
Yeah.
He's just going to grow and become more physical, and he's going to develop. And he's going to Boston University, which is one of the best programs in Division I hockey. So he's just going to learn a bunch. So I think at number 3, even if it was his dad, it's the risk you want to take. That's a good pick because of his size and stature and the upside he could bring.
No, that's good to hear. Like, obviously, like I said, this is why I wanted to pose the question to you, right? Because you get to see some of these guys. So, like, that's absolutely awesome. I'm glad to hear that, right? Because I didn't really, looking at some of it on paper, it was just, there was definitely a bit of a question mark for me. Question mark number 2 for me is the number 4 pick from Buffalo, Daxon Rudolph. Had a monster WHL season with 78 points in 68 games, including 28 goals. He may have one of the highest ceilings of defensemen in the class, so this is not necessarily a bad prospect, but some post-draft grading questioned Buffalo taking him as high as 4th when, again, there were other highly regarded players here, right? So this is me saying that I don't like the player, or that I really like him, but again, 4th overall, Philly, like, was this, how does the organization justify this, especially Buffalo?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm going to take a page here out of Crosby's book and basically say this, right?
Yeah.
So you have to understand how these NHL teams work and how their scouting departments work and how their drafting works, right? It's never like we all play NHL franchise and, connected franchise, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And we think that we suddenly know everything, right?
Yeah.
But the reality of the situation is it's not always show up, draft best player on board, call it a day,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes you need to draft for, as Crosby just said, we have no freaking clue if this guy's dad's going to be the coach 2 years from now.
Yeah.
So with Buffalo, I think there's a much more stronger case to be made about not a miss on the prospect. I actually like Daxon. I think Daxon's going to be a really, really strong player, actually.
Yeah.
But at that position, based off of who else was still on the board, I question taking him there specifically for his fit within Buffalo. What I will say in regards to Maholtra is, sorry, go ahead. Or did somebody,
Crosby?
or Gauze? You're muted, by the way, if you were saying something.
Oh, he may have been talking to somebody else. Go ahead.
That's fine. What I'll say in the Mahotra pick is that I had him. So, like, when I sit down and I do my tiers and,
Yeah.
like, I go through and I do my draft prep, similar to, like, any of the major outlets, I always have these guys tiered out, right? Like, here's who's in my tier 1, here's in my tier 2, not just by position.
Yeah.
1A, 1B was obviously Stenberg and McKenna. Once you get into tier 2, though, that's where you really have to have a debate on what do we like about this player's fit for my organization. And in my
100%.
tier 2, I had Chase Reed, I had Malhotra, I had Albertus Smith, I had Bjork, like I had Carls, I had Rudolph, I had a lot of these guys that ended up going. I also had Lynn in there, who somehow fell to San Jose, which makes me want to strangle NHL GMs, like we talked about.
I
But
know. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but when we talk about the Malhotra pick, I didn't like the pick of him at 3. I do like him as a fit for Vancouver, for the record. I just thought it was a bit of a reach there.
Yeah.
In regards to the Buffalo pick, honest to God, they need a right-handed D-man, I guess, or let it be. I don't. I feel like this is going to come back to. In the moment, I had more questions.
Yeah.
After I watched, like 6 extra teams or whatever, 3 extra teams also pass on Chase Reed. That's when I went, okay, well, if you're not taking Chase Reed, right?
Yeah.
And these other teams aren't taking Reed, well, then in hindsight, the next defenseman you would look at would be, for Buffalo, Dax and Rudolph.
Yeah.
And so in that vein, it makes sense to me how they got there. I don't want to play armchair analyst because I think that this draft class was a very strong draft class in
Yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
regard. I just think that it's we're never going to say someone's a bust. All you need to do is look at players like Azigris, Gautier, Drysdale, who maybe don't get the right pick organizationally the first time they get traded. And now Cutter is flourishing, obviously, in Anaheim, as much as I hate him. And obviously, Zegras and Drysdale are doing well here. So what I will say is this.
Yeah.
As has been brought up by Crosby, a lot of these guys are not coming up tomorrow. Right?
No,
Like I
no,
think that's sometimes
absolutely not.
something we forget. Like every now and then you get a Gavin McKenna, you get a Celebrini, you get a Martone who show up and are suddenly NHL ready. Here they go. That is not the norm.
No.
And the fact that these kids are in some really good college programs, BU is one of the best
Yeah.
development programs in the country.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see where it happens. But there, unfortunately, if your dad has your same last name, there is going to be some questions there. I mean,
No,
there's
fair.
just no way around that.
Fair. No, I'll leave it at that. My third questionable pick, and again, we don't have to get into any questions around this one, but pick number 10 from the Nashville Predators. It's Wyatt Cullen, right? Central Scouting had him ranked at 13th among American skaters, producing 45 points in 40 games. For the U.S. NTDP under 18 team. Again, nothing outrageous, but at number 10, with several highly regarded players still available at that point. For me, I think it is fair to ask whether Nashville, prioritized a particular projection or organizational fit over the perceived value. When you're picking 10th, like how much do you put I love this player over what might we be able to get this player later? I think it's sometimes a question for me. You hit it on the head, right? Like it was such a strong draft class. I don't necessarily think that there were any bad picks in this one, and it'll be interesting to see how this draft class looks in a few years from now. Crosby, I want to go back to you. I save this for the end of this conversation, or close to the end of this conversation. You've sat on the evaluation side of this. Fans have their public rankings. Obviously, media has rankings. Central Scouting has their rankings. Teams have their own boards. How dramatically different can an NHL team's internal board be from what the rest of us see publicly?
Well, if you look at it, like prime examples that you just brought up was Wyatt Cullen.
Yeah.
Watched him play at the showcase. He's an unbelievable player.
Yeah.
But he's not a team player.
Yeah.
You watch him play, he's a very arrogant player. He's got a big ego. He's basically been grass-fed his whole life because his dad basically brought him up. I'm not going to say that, but he's a great individual player.
Yeah.
When I watched him last week, it was very obvious. Didn't like to pass the puck. He tried to be fancy. So it's like you look at these things and it's like, maybe this guy's a great player, but is he going to fit in our locker room? Is he going to fit what we want to do? Same with like Chase Reed. Chase Reed is probably the second best defenseman I've seen play in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Like Schaefer's 1, he's 2, but I won't say who number 1 is for sure because it's next year, but that's for sure who I think is going to be the best defenseman in the NHL in the next 4 years. But all these things that you see, you don't know like behind like how are they as a person.
Yeah.
You see how they play, but you don't know their personality. So all these questions, like at the combine, when they ask, like they find these answers, then you finally get to see like who they are as a real person and not just the hockey player.
And that is pretty good to the point of like how often the reality is that the public board and the team's board were never the same to begin with, and I think that's a pretty solid way to go before we run out of this one, guys. We're gonna go right back to where we started all this with Gavin McKenna. So no fence sitting on this one. Crosby, will Gavin McKenna be in Toronto's lineup opening night?
For jersey sales, yes.
Okay, Philly, give me a rookie point total. How many points do you think he gets this season?
I mean, he's playing on Toronto, man. I mean, I think it's fair to like our goals are points because I feel like realistically,
points.
I don't want to
just rough points. No fence sitting. Quick on it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like 40 plus minus is at least a good safe bet, right? Like anything more, anything less, you're putting too much pressure on the kid.
Perfect. All right, so. Draft gave us a pretty good look at where the NHL might be headed over the next 5 to 10 years, but plenty of teams around the league apparently weren't interested in waiting that long. Toronto, San Jose were loading up on the future. Some of the NHL's biggest contenders and a few other teams were trying desperately to become contenders, spending their summer loading up right now. Washington got super aggressive. Carolina wasn't satisfied with simply winning the Stanley Cup, and Toronto made another enormous move. Across the league, teams have started behaving like championship windows aren't something you wait patiently for. You either open one or somebody else will. We're going to rip through these ones quickly, guys. Washington goes all in, right? Picking up Jordan Kyrou and Alex Tuch. And then adding Boone Jenner to a 4-year, $23 million deal. The reason why I wanted to start with Washington is because obviously at 40 years old, it looks like Ovechkin is coming back for one more season. By adding Jordan Kyrou and Alex Tuch along with Boone Jenner, I don't think this is a farewell tour. This is more a team telling its captain, we think there's another chance here. And Ovechkin subsequently acknowledged that, Washington's moves helped convince him to return. He signed for a 22nd season and said he believes the new roster is capable of qualifying for a Stanley Cup. Crosby, did Washington actually reopen its Stanley Cup window, or are they trying to force open a window that's already been locked shut?
Force open a window.
Yeah.
At this point, Ovechkin's a gimmick.
Yeah.
He can't play defense. He can't play defense anymore. I think the stat was last year he had 1 defensive zone faceoff the whole year.
Yeah.
He barely scored on the power play last year. He's too slow because he's gained so much weight over the years, and he doesn't put in crazy work. I think we'll probably have a conversation later. How is it time for Sidney Crosby and Ovechkin to retire?
Yeah.
Crosby's still producing. Ovechkin, he only has one. He's a one-trick pony, and that one-trick pony is kind of not as efficient as it was anymore.
No.
And he's like even I think their team said he's a liability defensively, and they won't play him in the defensive zone. So I think they're just forcing something that's not there.
No, agreed. To you, Philly, when you're management, right, how much should keeping Ovechkin interested in playing influence roster decisions at this point, right? Like, yes, you add Kyrou and Tuck. NHL Edge data gives, some substance to the fact that both of these additions are actually, pretty good and bring, scoring and skating elements. But is this what Washington needed to do, or like, do you feel like they're forcing this one as well?
Well, again, you're making a Philly fan here. Take a side of an argument here. So I'm going to put on my analyst hat and not
Yeah.
my personal feelings hat and say, one player between Crosby and Ovechkin played most of the games last season, and it wasn't Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
So if we want to talk about who should and should not be retiring, he might be a one-trick pony, but he did play more than 68 games.
Fair.
And so, I mean, look, at the end of the day, that one-trick pony is getting you 32 goals at a consistent clip. And I mean, the Penguins could have used some of those in the playoffs, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
And so I think, is this a move that's opening a window for Ovechkin? No, that's not the talking point.
No.
The Capitals did a retool, preparing for life after Ovechkin. And in doing so, brought him back. That's what this was. The Capitals were staring down the barrel of a very ugly rebuild.
Yeah.
And rather than that, they decided to retool, and they have now a core of young guys that are up and coming still, that are maturing, that will now be surrounded by these guys they traded for, who will be able to keep them in a place where they can keep competing.
Yeah.
Do I think personally this was the world's greatest decision? Well,
No.
I mean, it's hard to say, because I don't think this was we're going to go win a championship and Ovechkin is the piece that does it for us, right? Why did the Sixers sign LeBron James?
Yeah.
Because having that one-trick pony maybe is just enough in Game 7 of a Stanley Cup final to score that goal as a one-trick pony.
Absolutely.
You're not. And so, look, at the end of the day, if the Capitals don't make these moves, they're last in the East this year.
Yes.
There's no, with as good as the East is, it would be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not trying to call LeBron a one-trick pony, but I'm trying to say that they're of the same age, right?
Yeah.
And so when people say, oh, well, neither of these guys is really going to help you, that's just adamantly wrong. As long as the player themselves still feels like they are going to be a helpful, useful, whatever to the team, then I'm going to keep putting that person on the ice or on the court. Do I think the window is wide open? I mean, the East is hard, right?
Yeah.
But the moves were good, and they didn't have to give up a ton to get what they got. And again, for me, this wasn't a move about Ovechkin so much as it was acknowledging that, yes, the Ovechkin years are ending and putting yourself in the position for what comes next.
Yep. We can talk about Carolina. Carolina obviously making some interesting moves along the way there. This is a championship team. Sometimes making those moves can be disruptive. Like I said, I'm not totally sold on the Washington thing. I kind of wonder myself if this is them trying to win another cup for Ovi, or if this is Ovi still feels like he has something left to prove, despite now being the league leading, or all-time leading goal scorer. Like I said, Carolina made some moves. One of the ones that I really wanted to bring up quickly here, guys, Toronto taking another swing. Goaltending, though. So Sergei Bobrovsky is going to Toronto. 3 years, $21 million. You got rid of a young goalie. Obviously, there's some goaltending injury problems. We know Bobrovsky just loves to play. But looking at the analytics, he had a bit of an off season, right? Like, looking at the future of Toronto, you're trying to get younger, but then you're bringing in an old goalie, Crosby. Can you successfully run 2 timelines at once here? Or is this going to be a mistake?
That Florida team being all banged up is not the same Florida team we're used to.
Absolutely not. No.
Bobrovsky's probably played the most hockey out of any goalie in the last 2 years because he's made it to the Cup twice.
Yeah.
Three times almost. With how bad that Florida team was, how much hockey he played, I think he got tired.
Yeah.
For being how old he was. Got eliminated, didn't make the playoffs, so you have to see how he's going to be. But when you're also the Leafs, I believe you got rid of the wrong goalie.
Yeah.
I think getting rid of Joseph Wall is probably one of the biggest mistakes they've made.
100%.
But you also got to look at the Leafs goaltending down in the minors, which are unbelievable. Like, they had Hildeby, but they got rid of him. But the other goalie that plays in the AHL that just won the Calder Cup is one of the best goalies ever.
Yeah, shit, I can't even
The Russian kid.
Yeah, Akhtiamov.
Yes, he's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, like, Rossi to come in, who is also Russian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Young kid,
I didn't even
maybe
think
in the
about it that way.
future, who in the future is going to be your number one goalie, and you're also bringing back the duo that won the cup together. So it's like they have, I think, and with the pieces they have, I think the Leafs have a way better team than they did last year, especially defensively.
Yeah.
So it's just, I think you can go old for the aspect of Bob's been there and done that, and I think he can help them.
Montreal, obviously a promising run. And, I think at this point we have to look at them as potentially contending. Went 48, 24, and 10, reached the Eastern Conference Finals before losing to the Carolina Hurricanes. They gave Ivan Demidov an 8-year contract extension on July 1st. I think we're reaching the point where we need to stop talking about the Montreal Canadiens as like this cute young team that's been rebuilding. This is a team that I believe now is ahead of schedule. In an Atlantic division that seems to be getting tougher, this is going to be a tough team, right? Are the Montreal Canadiens now a legitimate Stanley Cup contender, Philly?
Yeah, this isn't going to be a popular answer.
Ooh, let's go. Love it.
Montreal is as much of a contender as the entire Pacific Division is to win the President's Trophy.
Whoa, okay.
And here's why. How long can you be rebuilding? Like you said, the cute thing, it has to pay off at a certain point. Yeah, I mean, like, look, do you really want to be the Carolina Hurricanes of Canada, guys? The also rans, but not quite across the finish lines, because that's what this is turning into. It's the so close but didn't. And for the record, we already did this once with a Canadian team. It's called the Edmonton Oilers.
Oh boy.
So they were really cute for a while, and then they didn't. And you see how that works out.
Yes.
So here's my advice to the Montreal media. In Toronto's media case, it's, hey, maybe lay off your team a little bit. In your case, it's, I don't know, maybe tell them they're not allowed to have poutine until they win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, fair. Just really quickly want to say, I love you too, there, Dark Side. I fucking love you too. Look, I agree to a point that, like at some point being cute does have to end, right? But, you've re-signed Demidov. Lane Hudson is potentially one of the best up-and-coming defensemen in the NHL. Suzuki's getting better. Caulfield's getting better, right? Like, guys, Crosby, like, am I wrong here? I think this is a team that is potentially on the upturn, or at the very least they're due for the upturn here, right?
I think you're wrong, too.
Wow. Okay.
Because if you look, you said Suzuki, you said Hudson. Well, what do they both have in common there?
Yes.
How tall are they, and how heavy are they?
Yeah.
When they get into a playoff hockey game where, for some reason, rules change and they play that Florida Panthers run and gun.
Yeah.
Hudson, Caulfield, all of them are gonna get ran out of the barn because they're just gonna get bodied. Slavkovsky, who was supposed to be their big body player. Well, we all saw him get one punched by Hagel, who
Yeah.
is about almost a foot smaller than him.
Yeah.
And Josh Anderson is their ideal person that they want, but they need more Josh Andersons on that team.
Yes, they do.
They don't have that.
So
So
I
they're
want to
gonna
echo something Crosby said because I
Yeah.
also want to hit on it, and I think it's important. Um, so I do think there is an argument to be had on a future episode of this show about is the NHL becoming a almost quicker league where this smaller build is going to be an asset and not a hindrance, right? I think that's a different topic altogether.
Yes.
What I think the appropriate question here, TJ, is not is Montreal this contender? Because for me and Crosby, you may agree or you may not. To call a team a contender, you have to look at that team on paper and without a doubt essentially believe this is at a minimum a Final Four team and a team that today, if nothing else changed, could easily win a championship, right?
Yeah.
Because that is, and Crosby, I mean, that's what I define as a contender, is a team that I would put money on to win today.
I think you need more than 12 shots in game 6 and 7 combined too.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But what I'm getting at is that is Montreal on paper a good team? Yeah. Are they fun to watch? As much fun as watching the French Canadians play can be? Yes.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's
Yeah.
great. I think they're a fun team to watch. But what have they actually won or done that puts them in a place of, for lack of a better term, the Stanley Cup contenders of this season?
Yeah.
And the answer is you're not a contender until you do it.
100%.
Which is why, to me, I don't consider Carolina to be in that upper echelon because I believe that you still need to get through the behemoth that continually kicked your ass.
Mm-hmm.
And in not having done that, we don't know what they are. Montreal is a consistent team who should be consistently competing for championships. That is the correct statement.
No.
They're not there yet.
Montreal's Minnesota. On paper,
Yeah.
they should be there.
Yeah. No, that part I agree with, right? I think, Montreal, Minnesota kind of were doing the same thing at the same time. Minnesota has managed to do it better, right? They just ran into a wall. Two, and they made it through the first one, but managed to get through the second one. As we look forward, right, to this season and all the teams that we've talked about and the stuff that they've done, Vancouver is kind of, I think, going in the opposite direction, right? Finishing 25, 49, and 8 last season, last in the Pacific Division. Completely reshaped hockey operations here, as we talked about earlier. Manny Malhotra becoming head coach, Ryan Johnson becoming the GM, Daniel and Henrik Sedin becoming co-presidents of hockey operations. They also brought in Brendan Gallagher and Jamie Oleksiak. Gallagher explicitly has talked about trying to establish culture during a rebuild. Again, Vancouver is almost the inverse of everything that we've just discussed. They're not trying to squeeze one more year out of a championship window. They're trying to figure out what their identity is going to be. Philly, I wasn't sure which one of you to throw this to. I'm going to go to you first, though, Philly. Do you like what Vancouver is doing here, or does it still feel like an organization that's caught somewhere between trying to rebuild and trying to remain relevant?
Well, the NHL's rules on tanking don't allow for, like, the concept of a
Yes.
full-on rebuild. So there will be no trusting the process in Vancouver.
No.
I mean, look, I think firing your coach after one season is rough. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, to replace him with Malhotra doesn't actually seem like the world's biggest. Oh yeah, we obviously upgraded here, move, and then he goes and
right.
drafts his son. I mean,
Yeah.
do I think that Vancouver is helping their case in being that we are the Mickey Mouse clubhouse of Canadian teams and we are owning it cause? No, I think this is absolutely right in line with there are all the Canadian teams, and also we let Vancouver say they're here too. So on jokes like aside, I think that this is clearly a rebuild. I think that what's interesting is it is as close to an in-the-house family rebuild as you can get. I mean, you've got a GM in-house, you've got the Sedin's named co-presidents, you've
Yeah.
got Mahotra drafting his kid,
Yeah.
you've got
Yeah.
we're literally one cousin's brothers, sisters away running the concession stands from calling ourselves, literally the family edition. And to
Yeah.
their credit,
Yeah.
this works for the Flyers. The Flyers notoriously are an in-house operation, and when they go out of house, it doesn't work.
No.
So
No.
do I think this
Emphatically
could?
doesn't work.
Right. Well, it works when we send the players and the coaches elsewhere, just not for us.
Yeah.
My point is, do I believe that this could work for Vancouver? Why not? Nothing else has worked. And I want to see more riots because that gave me an amazing photo of those two people kissing after losing the Stanley Cup. So if whatever gets us to there,
Yeah.
it's quicker. I'm all in favor of that.
Well, yeah, dude, that would be that'd be a whole lot of fun to see again, especially if it ends up the same way. Vancouver losing to Boston. That was nice. That was real nice. Okay. If let's let's just go quickly around the league in 90 seconds here. There were a couple other moves that are worth looking at. Jason Robertson resuming in Dallas on a 1-year deal. Obviously, that was through arbitration, so it'll be interesting to see what happens at the end of the upcoming season. John Marino receiving a long-term commitment with an 8-year contract. Patrick Kane coming back on a 2-year deal. We've seen a number of teams choosing very different answers to the same question. How much certainty do you actually want in today's NHL? Here's the thing that we have to talk about, right? A lot of why this is happening. We saw massive amounts of money that were spent. Everybody has money now because the salary cap is jumping up. How much do we think this is going to change what teams are willing to do, right? Because at a $95 million salary, right? $9.5 million is, 10% of your cap. That $9.5 million this year and next is shrinking quite a bit, right? Philly?
Run that by me again. The cap's going up.
Yeah, the cap's going up. So when you see a lot of these bigger contracts, right? I don't think teams are quite as afraid to spend because it's not as much, not as high a percentage against the cap.
Yeah, I think you're going to see this continue, right? This is not going to be uncommon. In fact, teams notoriously that have not spent money are going to spend money because they already know the cap for the next 4 years is going up, and that will continue to go up.
Yeah, because it's $104 million this season, then $113.5 million next season, right? You're talking about $25 more million. Obviously, the floor is raising as well. Are fans and maybe some analysts making the mistake by evaluating today's contracts using yesterday's salary cap? Because you do hear people when they see some of the contracts, right? You have oh my God, they spent that much money on this guy, Crosby. We do need to readjust and reevaluate here, right?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It's not the money, it's the who is getting the money and what they have done. The only one so far that I can give 100% and say, yes, the 18.5 is worth it is Celebrini.
Yeah.
He's the only one that has shown that he can be as good as the best players in hockey right now.
Yeah.
If you're going to sit here and tell me right now that Leo Carlsson and Connor Bedard, who hasn't played a full season yet, are better than Connor McDavid by that much more money, if they're getting what they're getting, then McDavid has to get close to $23 million a year.
Yeah.
Y'all could thank Danny for that, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Well, we're going to get there. Don't you worry.
The whole, that whole situation is there's no way in any world that Leo Carlsson's worth 4 first-rounders or worth $18 million.
Yeah.
And if we really look at it, he's actually making $32 million this year because they front-loaded it.
Mm-hmm.
So Leo Carlsson is making as much as your average MLB baseball player that's a good player for 1 year.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
Wild. as I mentioned before, right? Like the floor is exploding, right? Going from 76.9 million this past season to 83.9 projected this next season. So like this does create the implication, or sorry, not doesn't create an implication. It actually creates a fact where GMs are going to have to spend money. Carolina, looking at you, you're actually going to have to spend some more fucking money because they don't seem to like to fucking do that. Really quickly, guys, I'm going to give you both, 20 seconds to answer this one. Looking at everything that everybody did throughout the offseason here, or the offseason so far as we know it, who's your winner for the offseason, Crosby?
Mitch Toronto. They added the key pieces that they needed.
Yeah.
We saw it last year. Radical Gudis knees Austin Matthews in the knee. No one does anything besides Easton County, smallest player.
Yeah.
They finally went and got pieces that will fight back for their team and that are good scorers.
Yeah. And for you, Philly?
We'll go with San Jose. I think their draft was spectacular. I think that they know what they have. I think that they locked up Celebrini before they even found themselves in a situation
Yeah.
like Anaheim did. And so I think honestly, it's San Jose. When you know what you've got and you don't want to lose a cornerstone, you don't let that person get anywhere close to market.
Nope. Nope. And I'm actually glad that you brought that. Sorry, go ahead, Crosby.
I forgot that they signed Truba and Darnell Nurse too.
Yes.
I think I changed my mind to it. I'd say San Jose. I forgot about that.
Yeah. San Jose, man. Damn. It's
Just in the goalie.
again, the future is teal, boys. You know, maybe this wasn't the offseason where the NHL general managers have suddenly lost their fucking minds. Maybe they looked at where the salary cap is going and realized that what is an expensive contract today might look completely different, 2 to 3 years down the road, which brings us to Philadelphia, Philly, because they were the one team that was willing to find out exactly how far this new economy could be pushed, and they have completely detonated a bomb and reset the RFA market here. July 3rd, 5 years, $90 million, $18 million per season. Philadelphia Flyers tendering an offer sheet to 21-year-old Ducks center Leo Carlson. If Anaheim doesn't match that one, right, they get 4 first-round picks. Anaheim does do it. So, we could talk about just how crazy the $18 million was. I think we've all kind of alluded to that. I don't think we need to necessarily ask the question because, Crosby, I think you hit it on the head, right? Was Leo Carlson actually worth $18 million, or was Philadelphia paying the price required to acquire something that almost never becomes available in a 21-year-old franchise center, which they could have obviously used, right? No, I don't necessarily think he's worth that $18 million when we look at the other contracts, in everything, right? Like in what other players have signed here. Philadelphia knew that Anaheim could match. So did Philadelphia do this deliberately to kind of push the ceiling and see how far this could go? Or do you think that they had to know, right? Like that this is how it was going to go, that Anaheim was going to match it, right, Philly?
Incorrect.
Really?
So let me break down to you exactly what happened here because I think people need to understand like that there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. Okay, for starters, as I just alluded to, and I'm going to sit up for this one, so give me a second.
Yeah.
All right. If you have a franchise player, you do not allow that franchise player to get anywhere near the open market, RFA or otherwise.
Yes.
Okay, let's start there.
Yes.
I believe actually he was worth the $18 million.
Okay.
I would have been perfectly happy eating that contract as a Flyers fan and giving up the 4 first-round picks and not even batting an eye.
Okay.
Verbeek has a history of underpaying his players.
Yeah.
In fact, Carlson had even been on the record saying he would have taken 9-5 if Anaheim had just offered it to him earlier, and they said no. And so the Flyers, looking around for a franchise center, which does not come around often, had not only the pick capital, but the cap space to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And they could have gone higher. They could have gone to 20 or 21 or 22 and still re-signed Zegras like they did, and Drysdale like they did, and Grebenkin like they did.
Yeah.
So, like, was it a case where they thought they could match? Probably.
Yeah.
Do they care? No, because either way, one, this is from a Flyers standpoint. Fuck you for what you do with Cutter. Like, and I hope you enjoy that $18 million overpay. And if you don't pay it, imagine seeing Leo Carlsson on a line with Porter Martone and Matt Michkov, and you tell me that's not an $18 million pay worth 4 first-round picks.
Yeah, no shit.
So it was a win-win for the Flyers.
Yeah.
Now, I want to address the RFA elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Danny Briere is not an old boys club GM.
No.
Danny Briere does not apply the "this is not how we do things" to GMs.
Yes.
Danny Briere is a Philadelphia GM, like Howie Roseman is a Philadelphia GM, and apparently, like the new Sixers GM, is a Philadelphia GM, which is that they're all young and they don't really give a shit about what the old people used to do, because the fact of the matter is the rule is there. So if you don't want him to get there and you don't want to pay him $18 million, I don't know, Anaheim, pay your fucking player what he's worth, or don't bitch to me about it.
Yeah. Well,
And yes, we did front load it. That
Yeah.
was a strategic choice,
yeah.
because you know who can't get paid now? Cutter Gauthier. You're welcome.
Dude, that's fucking diabolical. I'm glad that you brought that up, because yes, right, this is where the offer sheet becomes a competitive weapon, right? Even when Philadelphia fails to acquire the player, right? Like, we've spent years, as you just suggested, hearing that, offer sheets are almost taboo amongst most NHL general managers. We're seeing some of the younger guys come in. Crosby, did Philadelphia just demonstrate why more teams should be using offer sheets?
Well, 100%. But to go with what Philly was saying, it's also just a giant fuck you to Anaheim, because we're talking about a team that has 3 really solid young players that they have on their team.
Yeah.
Well, now they have to. If you've looked at it, Cutter Gauthier played just as well, if not better, than Leo Carlsson.
Yeah.
So he has to get close to that money, if not more.
Yes,
They
he
got-
does.
And then they got one of the best young defensemen in the NHL, Jackson Lacombe, who is also going to need close to that money.
Yeah.
And Philadelphia just said, hey, fuck you guys. You took Cutter from us and did all that. Now we're going to fuck you guys over, and you guys are going to have a whole internal problem. Like, I've heard a bunch of Anaheim fans and, like, fans they said, Verbeek should have been fired for not having him sign before it was even done. There's no reason he should have went to the RFA. Well, this is showing, teams are going to do it. Why not, when you can, if you're going to give up 4 first-round picks for a team, like for a player that you don't know what those 4 first are going to be, they could be nobodies. So why not just go, okay, here's such and such amount of money. You guys we'll take that player that we've seen proven that he's half decent and can play in the NHL. We don't know what these 4 first are going to do, so we'll take the risk on taking the contract now and having a player that showed what he can do.
I'll also add that the Flyers had 2 first-round picks next season. So even if they had to give up their own first-round pick, they still would have been drafting, thank you, Leafs, in the first round regardless, because the 4 first-round picks of the RFA have to be your own. That is something that people don't understand about the RFA.
Yeah.
In order to tender the offer at the contract value, you must retain and currently own your own organization's picks, which means they could not give them, like, the Leafs, right? And so I want to stress also that the RFA is not automatic, right?
No.
Carlson had to agree to it as well. He could have said, no, I don't want to go there. But if I'm a young player in Anaheim, and I know that Verbeek has a history of fucking over people like me and not giving me what I'm worth, do you know what I'm doing if I'm those players' agents?
Yes.
I'm not signing a contract with them, because I'm going to go the RFA route and see what crazy number I can come up with, because this is what happens when you let your franchise cornerstones hit the open market.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the other part of this. This isn't a Flyers thing. This isn't a Danny Briere problem.
No.
This is a how do you let this guy hit the open market problem? And so, do I shed a tear for Anaheim? No, not at all, because this is. I am always a proponent of players' rights. I am always a proponent that you should pay the players what they earn and what they are owed, and maybe there's a fair negotiation, right?
Yeah.
But if you are consistently trying to undercut people, and the RFA is a tool for GMs to ensure that they get the right to match.
Yeah.
And it's always been a handshake agreement that you don't go after another team's RFA so that they can negotiate, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Fuck that noise.
No.
It's a rule.
No.
Like,
100%,
and so I'm here for it. I do think, however, that Macklin Celebrini and Connor Bedard and every other team now locking up their young players so that they're not in this situation. By the way, Danny Briere is getting a lot of Christmas baskets this year, let me tell you.
I fucking bet he will be. You know, really quickly before we start moving on here, one of the things I had a bunch of people that, you know, kept on, like, when we were having this conversation, like, you know, okay, well, if you're Pat Verbeek and you have Leo Carlson, right? Like, you know, don't you just take the first, you know, the 4 first-round picks or what? Here's the thing, right? Philadelphia is getting better. There is a difference between taking 4 first-round picks from a bottom feeder team and 4 first-round picks from, you know, a team that is moving on up, right? That is coming out of a rebuild. Yeah, I
Taking 4 glorified second-round picks.
exactly, right? Like, so no, like you had to do this if you're Anaheim, and I fully agree, right? Like, this was definitely the right decision. I think honestly the underrated winner in all this is Leo Carlson, right? You know, for Carlson himself, this offer was obviously essentially impossible to turn down. He wanted
And
Anaheim
for the
to
record,
match
he
it to remain
actually
a Duck.
did turn it down. Like, this hasn't been reported. Originally, he went back to Verbeek and said, listen, I have this offer sheet from the Flyers.
Yeah.
This is the number.
Yeah.
Will you meet me somewhere between where you were and where they are?
think it
And
was-
he said no.
I think he asked for 14.5.
He
Yeah.
literally went to them and said 14 and a half.
Yeah.
And Verbeek said, nah, I'm good. And he said, okay. And he signed the offer sheet.
Yeah.
So, like,
worst-
at the end of the day,
Yeah.
like,
Verbeek did this
Like,
to
and-
himself.
and that's the thing, right? Like, look,
What he said was the worst part too. When he said
yeah,
he was
he
gonna
openly said he was going to match any offer, right?
anything. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'll
mean,
match
my
any
brother
offer.
and Christ Crosby, like, I mean, you go on media and you say openly, well, we'll match whatever the number is.
Yep.
And
All
so now, not only if you
Money
don't
where your
match
mouth
it,
is.
do you look like a pussy and a pushover, and now no one's gonna negotiate with you. Like, yeah, and it is a bad deal for the Ducks because I don't believe that the Ducks are at a contending place where they should
No.
be paying one player $18 million. The difference
No.
for the Flyers is that was an $18 million player that does suddenly boost them into the upper echelon. So why not take the swing? I mean, and on the flip side of this, like, I just think that there needs to be an actual conversation amongst GMs about, you know.
Yeah.
Because look, as a Flyers fan, it was hard for me to sit here and watch the talking points be, like, very honest, real talk. Oh, the Flyers are ruining this, and the Flyers are taking advantage of this system, and yada, yada. And no, the Flyers had made a good GM decision.
Yeah.
If your team's GM is stupid enough to let a player, in his own words, that he views as a cornerstone of his franchise go into the RFA market, well, then perhaps you need to find a new GM and stop blaming other people.
Nope. Nope.
100%.
100%, dude. 100%. Fully agree. You know, at the end of the day, one of the questions that I was going to ask guys, but I think we've already answered all of it here, right? Did Philadelphia actually lose anything by trying? No, right? They identified a franchise center, used a completely legal mechanism available under the CBA to acquire him. You know, I think more fan bases should be more frustrated with teams that never try something like this, especially when they're in the low spots. Looking at you, Columbus, right? Like, get fucking down and dirty. Let's see some shit. Like, fucking, you may as well, right? Like, give it hell. What this did, though, is it did change everything, right? $18 million basically became the starting point. Now, we did see the one contract that landed under that. Connor Bedard signing with Chicago, 5 years, $75 million, $15 million AAV running through the 30-31 season. Bedard coming off a 75-point season, 203 points so far through his first 219 NHL games. So that was number one, right? $75 million, $15 million per season. Then Macklin Celebrini breaks Carlson's record. It was on July 29th. San Jose signs Macklin Celebrini to a 5-year, $94 million extension carrying an $18.8 million AAV. Begins in 27-28, runs through 31-32. He's had 115, he just had 115 points, setting a Sharks franchise record, including 45 goals and 70 assists. Macklin Celebrini basically looks like, dude, he's going to be making good money. He's going to be making damn good money, and everything is going to be absolutely fantastic for him. You put these three contracts together, and here's the next question. Like I said, there was a whole bunch of other questions I had. We're going to skip right over those, and we're going to go straight to this. 5 years, guys. Carlson, 5 years. Bedard, 5 years. Macklin Celebrini, 5 years. Historically, the goal was to sign the 8-year contracts. A lot of that, for the teams, you lock up those players. For the player, you're getting that long-term security, right, off of an entry-level contract. In today's economy, players are playing longer, and you don't know how things are going to look 5 years down the road. NHL cap is hitting 104 million, going up to 113 next, 113 million per season next year. Obviously, the 8-year contracts are, I know there's certain stipulations in the new CBA, so it's basically 7 years are the longest that are available, except under certain circumstances. So 8 years are out of the question, but guys aren't even going for the 7.
Why would they?
Exactly, right? That's team friendly. So is this, Crosby, is this really a matter of the players looking at the new CBA and being like, okay, yeah, security versus control?
Yes, 100%. They want to be secured and be ready, but I don't know. You look at it I think you'll take, like you said, team friendly. Some teams Celebrini's definitely going to want to win. You can see the way he plays. He doesn't care about hockey. He just cares about winning.
100%.
And you're going to start seeing people take the Crosby route. You take pay cuts to win, the Bergeron, the Marchands, and all that. You take the pay cuts to win, but you're going to take it over years so you have the security basically.
Yeah.
So my stance on it is basically this. I think 5 years is actually good for the player and it's good for the team.
Yeah.
I think both sides win. For the record, 3 years from now, the 18.8 for Celebrini is going to look like a steal, right?
No,
and we
100%.
briefly touched on this. And so that's kind of the thing, right? On one hand, you can make the argument that, 6-7 years, it's good for the team. But let's just say in a weird world, let's take Bedard. Let's say we're on Bedard on this $15 million for 7 years. Well, Bedard hasn't really done as much as people think he can do.
No.
And I still think he has the potential if he can get healthy, if he gets the right guys around him, right? This is not a knock on Bedard. But if I'm the Blackhawks and I'm Bedard, 5 years at 15 feels more palatable in a way. Because one, if for some reason you decide you're now the Blackhawks in year 3 of this deal and you are just in full rebuild, it's not working, that's one, a movable contract, right?
Yeah.
And there will be a team willing to pay a good premium for that.
Yeah.
Okay. 2, it also means that you're not locked into a guy who is maybe if it just doesn't work out for 7 seasons at a number that becomes completely untenable for an amount of years.
Yes.
So I do think that, sorry, Crosby, didn't mean to cut you off. I do think that 5 is a good number. I think Crosby is right. A lot of players, as they go into maybe their late 20s, early 30s, that is when I think you'll start seeing more of these maybe front-loaded 7-year deals with guys that really want to stay in one place, really believe in that team's identity, maybe that's front-loaded so that the back-loaded gives the team more flexibility. I can see that happening. I don't ever think we're going to be at a place, and this is just like as a managerial person, and Crosby, you can agree, disagree, where we are getting under like to the 3-year deals. I don't think we're ever going to be like there.
No.
I think you're looking at probably 5 is going to be that new number. It feels right. It's like 5 or it's a 1-year prove it deal essentially.
Yeah.
For me.
5's a new bridge deal.
No. Yes, exactly. And one final question I have on this for you.
We are both.
Yeah. Is, looking at this, and again, right, these are players betting on themselves. Okay. Are we entering an NBA style mentality where the elite player values control over optionality as much as total guaranteed dollars, right? Basically betting on themselves.
It's hard to say. I mean, look, the NHL, the contracts are weird, right? And it is a testament to where the NHL is going that these teams are able to do these contracts, right? And I think part of this is that there's also the women's hockey coming up, and that's also creating different levels of excitement.
Yes.
And with expansion coming, I think that this is less of a players betting on themselves, more of a in hockey, we don't believe in the concept of really load management, right? Like there are leagues and sports where load management is a thing, and those players do get paid a bajillion dollars to, for lack of a better term, sit on the bench and wave. Not saying any names, but one of them just came to Philly, and I'm really happy he's here. That being said, not everybody is Jaromir Jagr, who apparently just doesn't age, and we really need to get some scientific group on that because whatever he has, we all need to start reproducing it. But at the same time, stop for a second and think what is the average run of an NHL career? And I think that 5 years, it is a good number. I think that it was always weird to see teams signing players to 13 years because my man, there are some marriages that don't make it 13 years. Shit gets weird. And when you think about this as no pun intended, but think about
fair.
it. Think about it for a second, right? When this you're married to just one person for that 13 years. You could be married to 22 different people during this one union with the coaches and the GMs and and that's a long time to get along with the same people. So I think that 5 years is a reasonable number. Ask me that again when the Flyers become free agents, and I'll let you know if I still agree.
Exactly. Well, we'll see what happens when we do get there. Look, I think for anyone, if we're looking at the winners and the losers, I think this is a nightmare scenario for some of the general managers, these old school general managers, right? Because players happy today, your rebuild is looking promising, but 5 years from now, you haven't built a contender, and that player now has options because that 5 years off of the ELC, he's free. He's a UFA, right? So I think this is what you're going to see more of. Next domino that's going to be falling is obviously, Matthew Schaefer, the next generation of elite players negotiating, starting from that $18.8 million and climbing, I think is what we're going to be looking at over the next little while. Macklin Celebrini is the clear winner here. Same thing with Carlson. And elite young players are going to win all the way around the board, right? Conditional winner here is Philadelphia. They've reset the market. They fucked up the game. Danny did a damn good job. They didn't get the player, but man, they proved that they were willing to pay an enormous price to get their guy. So,
Danny Briere walked into the middle of the NHL's off-season China shop with a baseball bat and said, "Yeah, let me just right here is good, okay," and started opening just nonstop. Now I don't know for the record that they knew that this would cause this level of a cascade. I don't think anybody should be mad about it. I think all you need to look at Robertson with Dallas. He took a 1-year deal. He's an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah.
He is literally walking into free agency. Whereas
Yep.
Celebrini didn't have to take 5. If any of these guys wanted to go into unrestricted free agency quicker,
Yeah.
they could just take 1-year deals. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that it is not necessarily fair to say, oh, well, it's going to be 5 years and they're gone. I think it's more, it's 5 years and show me you have a brain. Like, let
Yeah.
me make sure this is a fit, because if it's not a fit for me and it's not a fit for you, at least then you can trade me at the deadline. I'm a deadline deal.
Yep.
I could sign and trade. I'm on a cheaper contract. Like, it does, maybe not on the surface right away, help, but it does help. And so I actually think that it's great. I think it's great for the players. Again, love that my GM was the one who said, yeah, we're not doing that, and said we're tender offering your guy. And
Yeah.
that's a two-way street, right? Like, what did the
Yes.
Flyers immediately do? Locked up any of their guys who could have hit RFAs immediately.
Yeah. No,
And so,
of course.
look, I think it's exciting. I will be interested to see what the new CBA looks like when they're negotiated again.
Absolutely. Philadelphia loses the transaction, but they've won the philosophy. Whether they're actually going to benefit depends on whether their willingness to weaponize offer sheets produces something later on. And I think that it will, right? Because I think, Danny Briere has just proven that he's willing to spend. So given where Philadelphia is going, I think some guys who may not have been willing to look at Philadelphia last season are definitely going to be more interested in looking that direction in the coming seasons. My conditional loser in all this is obviously Anaheim. Not because I kept Carlson. Keeping him is a victory, but the problem is the price and the term. That was dictated by somebody else, right? Anaheim now pays $18 million. They're on the books anyway, 18 annually off the cap. Again, that's going to look good a few years down the road, but they got to get there first.
Verbeek won't be here a few years down the road.
Yeah, right. Anaheim, gets to keep its franchise center, but Philadelphia dictates the price. So, that to me, I think is an overall loss for those guys. Really quickly, the NHL is expanding to 84 game schedule. The only question that I'm going to ask here, guys, yes, the CBA changes, right? So effective September 16th, with it comes the first expansion of the NHL regular season since the 82 game schedule in 95-96. Every team is going to be playing 84 regular season games. The preseason is going to be reduced. My question is with the record books, right? Do we care or not, right? Because players now have 2 extra opportunities every year to accumulate goals, assists, and every other countable stat. So do we actually care what this could do to the record book? Or, is this just a product of a league, that is still growing?
Crosby, you want to go first?
I feel like it changed it slightly, but not really. It's like the same with football. They went to the extra game, but you're still doing an exceptional thing, but you're doing it in 1 or 2 more games. It's like you're still doing it, but say you super exceed that that previous record is you're doing it in 2 extra games. So it's more crazy if you're gonna say you beat a record by 20 points or something, and it's because you played 2 extra games, you're not gonna get. This is an NHL. You're not getting 20 points in the video game. You're not getting 20 points in 2 games.
That's true.
That's it.
That's true.
I mean, I'll say this. I've always thought this argument was stupid.
Yeah.
I've always thought this is we're drunk, it's 3 a.m., we have nothing else to talk about type argument just for the sake of arguing. And here's my take on it.
I'm not drunk yet. You're drunk.
Well, I don't drink, but here's the thing. All right. So if that's the case, then any record that has ever been surpassed that was not done when the NHL had only 6 teams is apparently irrelevant, because that is just how it is. It is a product of the system. And to be fair, 2 extra games also means 2 extra chances to get hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yes.
let's take the NFL as a serious example.
Yep.
Saquon Barkley had a legitimate shot to break the NFL rushing record a few seasons ago. In a game that was meaningless, his team had already qualified for the playoffs. He wanted to focus on winning the Super Bowl. Nick Sirianni said, "Do you want to go break the all-time rushing record?" And he said, "Nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I have bigger goals." So I think that there is something worth being said about, like, if someone's on the cusp of a single season goal record, are they going to go out there and adamantly break their neck to chase it staring down the Stanley Cup Finals? Probably not.
Yeah.
They'll try to score or win the game, but like ultimately, cooler heads prevail.
Yeah.
2 games extra over the course of 20 seasons equates to what? 40? 40 extra games in a career,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's not a benchmark enough for me to go, oh, well, that gets an asterisk, especially because any of the guys who will be surpassing certain numbers that are currently playing will have played under the previous standards already.
Yeah.
Also, like, we did have an 84 game season before. 93-94
Yeah.
did have 84 games. But that was like a weird neutral site game thing. No one liked it. It was weird. It was a one-off. It was the 90s. Everyone was on LSD. But my point is, the schedule itself is actually a lot more fair now.
Yes. Yes.
Everybody plays everybody instead of this, like, weird 4 or 5, whatever. But ultimately, the biggest losers are my wallet for being a season ticket holder and having to pay for 2 more regular season games. Super stoked for that.
And all that, and all those concessions as well. I think the biggest thing to look at, and I'm just gonna have one quick question. We're gonna drop out of this. This is actually, with the new CBA and the changes to this. This is one of those rare occasions where the changes were something that both the owners and the players legitimately say that they got something they wanted. I think that's great for the league, right? All the way around the board. From the fans' perspective, just give me one word answer here, boys. 84 games. Is this good, bad, or are you just completely indifferent to it? Crosby,
Great.
Philly.
Also, my regular season, so great, I guess. For my wallet.
And for me, I think this is a great change. I think this is going to be a great change and be really, really good going forward. Do we want to go on to the next segment, or should I just move right to the very next? Because what's
I
next.
think we skip. I think we skip segment 8. I think we leave that in the can, and the answer is we don't. To that question, we don't.
Yeah.
We don't. Yeah. So we skip that.
Yeah.
I think the next 2, by the way, probably can be the lead off for the next show.
Yeah.
They probably deserve that type of
You're right.
approach. Segment 11, if we want to touch on it briefly, we can. But I think we kind of already did a little bit, which would leave segment 12, 13, 14, 15, and so on.
I know. Okay, so here's my question, really, really quick here. How the fuck did this get so far out of hand?
Well, I mean, we had some really good conversations, and we did. I mean, your proxy of time is, well, bad, in a sense of a
Apparently.
word.
I'm like
Yeah,
10 to 13 minutes, and then we rambled.
No. I mean, look, this is what I expected, but these were
Yeah.
good debates.
Yeah.
Like, these were good conversations.
100%.
So I think it's been good.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's go right to 11 because we absolutely have to hit this one because Crosby is our guy on this. So we're looking at the Helinka Gretzky Cup, Canada's response, and the next wave of players that are coming. Obviously Canada winning gold tonight, Crosby. Super huge, right? There's obviously some questions about Hockey Canada. The U18 Worlds was a bit of a disappointment for Canada, to say the least, right? Looking at it from the fans' perspective, from you, Crosby, what's something that, like we may miss as fans, as we're watching these games and rooting for it. But what are we maybe missing, as fans?
Well, when we're going to talk about the U18s, we're forgetting about how young they are.
Well, yes, of course.
Bingo.
There's 2 kids that I can say that they were drafted last year in the WHL to Regina, because in the WHL you can trade first round draft picks. It's Maddox Schultz went first overall at 15 years old, and Liam Pugh went third overall to Regina. These 2 kids are 16 years old, and in the U18 tournament today in the whole tournament, they dominated the tournament. They had 9 points and 8 points, and all the talk about them now is, are they going to make the World Junior roster at 16 years old, which for some reason is a big no-no all the time for
Yeah.
Canadians to take 16-year-olds. But when we took Bedard, he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to get into the biggest name that I'm going to talk about for the whole Holinka tournament is Landon Dupont. Is probably, we talk about Cale Makar, we talk about Matthew Schaefer. Landon Dupont is better than both of them. It's going to be honest.
Wow.
We're talking about a player that when he was 15 years old got exceptional status, was the first ever defenseman in the WHL to do that. He broke 50 points as a 15-year-old in the WHL, which is probably the most physical league
Yeah.
out of all the CHL leagues. There's only one other defenseman in the rookie year that broke 50 points in the rookie year, and he was 16 years old, and it was Scott Niedermayer. But what I just said was Scott Niedermayer was 16. DuPont did it at 15. He is projected to go number 1 this year. He's going to the University of Michigan, so he's going to get even more talent and more skill. His team this year in the WHL, he plays for Everett. They lost the Memorial Cup to a very old Kitchener Rangers team that had a lot of overagers. But his team in the second half of the year went 48-3. And he had 73 points as a defenseman at 16 years old. That's we don't hear about. And then the 2 kids I talked about earlier, they didn't have exceptional status, but the rule is 34 games that they're allowed to play.
Yeah.
And I believe 2 of them had 50 points as in 34 games, the games they're allowed to play. And then there's a kid that played last year, but he's still 17. He's the captain of the Saginaw Spirit at 17 years old. His name's Dima Zilkin. He played at the World Junior Summer Showcase, and he was probably the best player on the ice at 17 years old. The States tried to bully him the whole time, and when they tried to bully him, he loved the game and just excelled. So, like, Canada's in a very good spot, like, young-wise, but we have to get those players to play with the players that are older now, or else we're never going to have that chemistry like the other teams do that always play together. So, like, we talk about what change Canada has to do. It's time to bring up the young players to play with the older players.
Yeah.
Because when we have a kid they're all talking about, like, DuPont's going to make the team this year, but they all said there hasn't been a defenseman in 2 years that has put up more points than him, but we didn't play him because he was 15 years old and 16 years old. I saw him play for the first time when he was in U17s.
Yeah.
In U17s, he was 15 years old, and there was 2 Canadian teams, and they went to the gold medal game against the other Canadian team.
Yeah.
And at 15 years old, he was the captain of Team Canada. And yet, because he's 15 and 6, like, these young players, we don't call them up because they're so young, but, like,
Yeah.
that's where our talent is. If you just bring it up and you play with the young kids with the old kids, it's going to be unbelievable. But we don't do that. And hopefully this year's the turning of the tide, because these 2 kids, like Craig Bundy even said today, if they were drafted this year, they'd give DuPont a run for his money at first overall.
That is wild. That is
Like,
absolutely wild, right? Because, like, we look at the U18 Worlds, right, where, you know, Canada beats Latvia opened up against Slovakia 2-1. Canada beats Latvia 6-0. Norway 8-0, beat Finland 7-0. Then, you know, Sweden eventually wins to go on to the gold medal, beating Canada 4-2. Right? This is, you know, seemingly the opposite of that, right? Canada beating the USA obviously today to win the championship. Beat Finland yesterday. What was the final in yesterday's? That was 6-2?
6-3.
6-3. Yeah, sorry. Right? So, you know, yeah, I think you're right. I think that, again, right, we knew that this was going to become a part of the conversation because you and me have kind of, like, been going back and forth on this one the last few times that we've spoken, right? Looking at Canada hockey, is it too big for itself? Right? Like, we're keeping these younger kids away from, a program where they can obviously excel, and we've seen failure at some of the other levels, right? Like I again, I think back to the Olympics. Like, I'm sorry, yes, it was a mistake not taking Bedard. Like, I don't know how else to express it. That
He was hurt though.
What's that?
He was hurt though because he hurt his shoulder right before the Olympics.
Yeah, boys, if I can throw out an outside perspective,
Sure.
I don't necessarily agree that you would have wanted to take him anyways, and here's why. Yes, good player, but a loss like that could have done more damage to his future prospects for a Canadian national team than
Yep.
the progress of him getting there. And so the question that you guys are bringing up, for the record, is something that soccer teams have to deal with a lot, which is how do you balance, for one thing, putting a 15 or a 16-year-old out on the ice where he could get hurt or injured or whatever is
Yeah.
always a risk. But what the USA does is we don't trot out 15 and 16-year-olds at every World Juniors. We bring them into camp with the World Juniors team.
Yeah.
And we have them skate with our guys who, yes, they are older, but know not to, I don't know, go head hunting because they understand the concept. What Canada would benefit from is having these guys in camp, bringing, say, a Bedard along for the ride, but not necessarily, quote unquote, having him exposed to all of those questions necessarily if they didn't win gold. Like, there are ways to do this to accomplish what it is
Yeah.
you are trying to accomplish. But a losing mentality can sink in and affect a player
Yeah.
just as much as a winning one can.
Okay, here's where my argument comes in, right? Because yes, I get it. 110%. I get it. But if Bedard is healthy, right? Remember, they didn't even invite Bedard. But if Bedard is healthy, you cannot tell me that Canada is not a better squad with Bedard in that lineup, right? There are a couple of other players who should have been invited who did
Matthew
not
Schaefer.
get. Yes, exactly. Right? They're looking at these younger players and they're like, "Oh, no. We got the old boys to do it." Yeah, how the fuck did that work out for you? We barely made it through the fucking Four Nations tournament. Right? And now this? Right?
Well, so I think that's my point, though, is that what a lot of these soccer teams do is you don't ever have a full-on changing of the guard, right?
Yeah.
It's almost training the people who are coming after you without ever fully exposing them to having to carry the weight until they're ready.
No.
So yes, you would be correct to if I was Hockey Canada,
Yeah.
would have brought those guys that didn't make the team. I would have had them training. I would have had them get the experience and learn what the pressure of playing for Hockey Canada is like, even if you're not on the freaking Olympic team, so that when you are, it is not a full new world. The Olympics and any international tournament, it is a short tournament. There is not a lot of time to learn on the job, and there is not a lot of time to make mistakes. This is my belief for people in Canada that I think my friends in Canada need to hear.
Yeah.
The
Before
world is catching up, guys.
No, and go ahead.
But like, you do have all of this youth talent. So the answer is not, well, now let's go hard pivot and only throw the kids out there, because that could create its own separate problem of, well, now if they start losing, there is a sports psychology part to this.
Of course.
So it's how do you integrate getting the older guys on their off season to come and work with the younger guys?
Yeah.
It's something that doesn't happen a lot with Hockey Canada, and that's one area that I think you can fix. During the off season, USA Hockey does bring our older guys and our younger guys together.
Yeah.
So maybe that's an answer. But just to reiterate on the whole Landon DuPont thing, the kid is a stud.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is not close.
No.
It is he will be the number 1 overall pick. He is a franchise altering defenseman. He is that good. And it's not just him. Summer Showcase be damned. I don't care if they're playing this thing on the goddamn moon.
Yeah.
He is that good.
Yeah.
So I just think that I personally wouldn't bring him to any tournament where you could stunt that potential
Yeah.
before it's ready.
No, and like, don't get me wrong, right? Hockey Canada has been making changes around development in its programs of excellence. You know, pathways connecting, the U17, U18, U20 national, and the management group. They've launched the development hub. Crosby, I guess this is where I'm at, and I kind of want your opinion and see if, like, we can come to some agreement here, right? Like, Canada understands that the development environment is changing. We're seeing the reviews of junior pathways, obviously, like even when we look at just a couple of years ago with the changes of the CHL and allowing players to go to play at American universities, right? Play NCAA. New development hubs, the changes to the program of excellence, as I mentioned. But is the system not evolving as fast as everybody else's is, right? Like, Canada is ahead, but by a fucking hair, right? Like, there are plenty of other countries that are catching up or passing us, right?
Well, we can't beat Czechia, so there's the first one.
Fuck, right? We can't beat
Last
Czechia.
4
We're
ye-
getting
the
lucky
last 4
against
years we've
Finland.
lost to them.
Yeah.
But to go with the thing about this NCAA and the CHL.
Yeah.
There is not a team in the CHL. There's one team in the CHL that if I was a kid or I wanted my kid to go to the NHL, I'm sending him to one team in the CHL.
Yeah.
That is the London Knights. It's the only team.
Right.
They are good at developing talent.
They're the
So
only
good.
team in the CHL that can develop players and be ready. But why the heck not would you not go to the NCAA where you have way more development with way better strength and conditioning programs,
Yeah.
you got better coaching, you got more ice time, you're getting top like trainers, physical therapists and all that there compared to the CHL. And when you're not at London, if you're not at London, you're basically playing AAA hockey. That's all you're playing basically if you're not at London. And like when you go to the NCAA, it's even crazier. The other thing is Canada needs to do what the States does, and they need a national development program.
Yeah.
Canada doesn't have that, so players aren't playing together all the time, and you're just, okay, we're going to throw these guys out there with these guys. Well, when you look at Team Canada, they have 10 guys play in the WHL, 10 guys play in the OHL,
Yeah.
and then 10 guys play in the QHL and the QMJHL.
Yeah.
Well, how the heck are they supposed to develop together and be a good team when you have 10 players that played together once, but then 10 other guys that have never played with them? It's like impossible. So all these teams are catching up because like Czechia and Finland and Sweden, all of them, they've played together since they were 5 years old.
Yep.
And then you wonder why, like when they're in the younger, they're unbelievable. But once we get to the NHL, you see us kind of take over because that's when skill and that takes over. But the togetherness of the young hockey players, it's the same with the States. The States aren't good at the U17 level and U18 level because they haven't really emerged into the USNDP. But once you get to the World Juniors and they're there, you see the
Yes.
connection of how good they are.
Absolutely.
Like anything before like World Juniors, like once you're above 18, like once you get to 19 years old, the States are as good as Canada. Maybe not one for one talent wise, but as a team, they're better than us.
So I will say this. This would be my advice to you, Chalk, and my advice to you, Crosby, as an American looking in. This reminds me of when the USA had a basketball crisis at the Olympics.
Oh, fuck yeah. I remember. Yeah, okay. Let's hear it.
And for years, it was the USA is going to show up. The USA is going to win the gold medal at basketball. It
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. Why would we try? We're so much better than everybody else. So let's just stop putting the tools and the resources in. And then one day, the U.S. basketball team showed up at the Olympics and they got beat. And that was a national emergency here. And when I say a national emergency, you got the dream team the next cycle
Yeah.
because at that point, everyone looked around and was like, "Oh hell no, nope." And yet that is when our basketball development program started. And then you saw it happen again recently, where, for lack of a better term, it got lackadaisical and the world caught up, right?
Yeah.
So Canada has a pivoting moment right now.
Yeah.
Either they are going to look at this and be like, we actually don't have a problem. It was just a weird cycle and
Yeah.
everything is fine, at which point everything will not be fine. Or they will take the lessons and, for lack of a better term, find a better way to do this. And
Yeah.
one of the things that they probably need to address, for lack of a better term, and it's not in this podcast, but part of the reason they don't have a national youth program is Canada sometimes probably needs to have handlers with the team, because when left to their own devices, like any kids, they sometimes do stupid things, and that might be a hesitation for Canada to have, say, a national program where the youth all get together.
Yeah.
I don't want to open that wound, so I'm not gonna go there directly, but
Yeah.
and they're not the only program that's had this problem.
No, of course.
But it is the other end of the argument of, how do we balance those two things, right? And
Absolutely.
so I don't think the world is burning in Canada, guys. I mean, it might actually literally be burning, but I mean, in terms of a hockey sense, I think you guys are fine. I think that
Oh, of course.
the reality of the situation is you ran into a buzzsaw, and honestly, that was a game that was hella fun to watch.
Oh, yes.
And like all the best on best tournaments have been between the USA Canada finals. Crosby's overtime winner, that game and for us in Milan,
that was beautiful.
they're always feeling like it's one particular moment. What I think is important for Canada now, though, is to calm everybody the fuck down.
Yeah.
But also have a serious talk about it.
Yes. No, and like I said, I think that's the problem, right? Like there has to be a serious discussion about it. I think some of the old guard needs to finally move on. Bring in some different minds, right? Because it's been the same stale shit, and you're not going to have any real change until you actually make some of those moves. Really quickly, Crosby, before we move on, I just want to bring up a couple other names that I kind of saw that I want to get your opinion on. First and foremost, Alexis Joseph, right? This is a different kind of top prospect we've been talking about. 6'4", 205-pound center, 60 points in 54 games in the QMJHL.
Go St. John.
Yeah. How was he looking, and what do you think there?
He started on the second line. He ended up on the fourth line. Big player, just is a bigger player than everyone else, and that's all he was basically.
So not the same speed, because
Not the same
a
speed.
lot of the scouting reports coming in, right, was based around the size paired with skating and offensive instinct. So you're saying that may need a little more work.
Yep. He was, like I said, started as the second line center, and in the gold medal game, he was the fourth line center.
All right. And
So from the two games I saw on
Yeah.
Alexis, just for the record,
Yeah.
all the pieces and the tangibles are there. It's
Yeah.
just not coming together yet.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
It's like you can see it's there, but
Yeah.
the painting's not complete. Is kind of how I describe it.
You know what I was waiting for you to say in there? All right, not everybody can be Porter Matone.
I mean,
I went to school with him.
So,
I went to
like I
school with
told
him,
you
so-
before, I don't try to compare prospects to other prospects. Each prospect is their own individual, unique journey.
Absolutely.
And the person who I'm curious about is Joey Cullen. That was the big guy from the USA that we sent, right?
Yeah.
That's our top prospect. And summer tournaments are always hard to get a read on, for the record. Like it is. I mean, if you're basing your draft off of a summer tournament, I have some bad news for you, but I'd love to sell you an igloo in the middle of a desert. Because I think Crosby will be the first one to tell you, like, the summer tournament, we've seen guys go out there and look like they're the second coming of Connor McDavid, and then never heard from again.
Yeah.
But I mean, Joey Cullen, I think, had a okay tournament. I don't think it was like, obviously you lose the finals like that. It's nothing to write home about per se.
No.
But he is considered a top prospect in 28. So I think that My big takeaway, and I'm going to butcher this word, Helenka. Did I get that right?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, all right. I'm trying, guys. My big takeaway from it is this: the CHL is not as weak as people think it is
No.
in terms
no.
of actual older prospects,
Yep.
but developing them through that system is harder. It is true.
Absolutely.
Going to the NCAA is not necessarily a bad thing for Hockey Canada. For one thing, you learn how the Americans play.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like going overseas to play. And two, you come back stronger.
Yeah.
And two, I think that across the tournament, there was like 56 CHL players and prospects on the
Yeah.
rosters. And like
Yep.
44 of them were draft eligible.
Yep.
Like it was not,
Well,
it was a pretty damn good showing for the CHL, I think.
well. Speaking of draft eligibility, I can't remember if you brought him up, and I don't want to kind of double dip on this one here because I know you were talking about a couple of the younger players, but the other one I wanted to ask you about Crosby, not eligible until the 2028 draft, but through the first 3-round robin games, Liam Pugh had
Yep, he was one.
4 goals and 5 points.
Yeah, him and Maddox Schultz play together.
Yeah. So is this a guy that we should be watching and sticking that name in the back of our minds right now?
Maddox Schultz more.
Yeah.
Liam Pugh will be on the World Junior team this year.
I agree with that assessment for the record.
Let's go.
Maddox Schultz is better than Liam Pugh, but he won't be on the team because he's a center. And trying to get a center to play wing at this young is very hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Team Canada's centers are probably the best center group in the World Juniors. They're going to have Caleb Denvoyer, Jake O'Brien, Cole Reshney. Like, their centers are loaded this year. So,
Yeah.
Liam
The
Pugh
juniors
being a
are going to be
wing is-
fun
Yeah.
this year, for the
Oh,
record.
yes.
Both the USA and Canada, and for that matter, everyone going to the juniors is
Yeah.
bringing a stacked team. This is going to be a fun year for the world. Sometimes you look at the World Juniors and you go,
Yeah.
this is kind of going to be a crapshoot.
Yeah.
They're going to win this. They're going to win. But
Yeah.
this year, and Crosby,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time I'm really going into the juniors at this point after the summer games being like, I think this thing is actually pretty wide open. It's not like a 2-horse race. I think it's a
No.
4 or 5-horse race, depending on what version of who you get.
No. Canada's going to have to work for it. There's been a few.
Finland and Sweden didn't look too good.
Yeah, their summer performance was shaky, but I think they'll be ready to go come December.
Yeah, but they don't like the warmth. So
That's true. They are Vikings.
they just they don't like the warm.
You know what it was? They were so caught up in the World Cup for soccer, they forgot
Yeah.
the hockey thing was happening. It was a simple mistake. The soccer team ended up
Yeah.
at the hockey arena, and the hockey team ended up
Yeah.
at the soccer. It was a mess.
The name I will say is, I forget his first name, but it's Cripps. He's a defenseman for Team Canada.
Yep.
He was drafted, he's the second overall pick in the WHL draft the year after DuPont.
Okay.
And every time there was an offensive zone, they put him and DuPont out together, and he was unbelievable.
Let's go. Well,
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 Chalk, we're running up on 3 hours. So
I
at
know.
this point,
do
At
you
this point,
wanna-
it's a movie.
right? It's
at this point, it's almost like a. Do we cut this? Do we save
Well,
some of this stuff for?
we can definitely
episode
save it for the
2?
next one. That's actually exactly what I was just thinking. Hold on, I'm trying to get to, because I got them right here. There we
I mean,
go.
we could briefly touch on 16 if we wanted, because we're here. But I think that's a can of worms we might want to avoid for a bit.
Number 16. Oh, that.
Based-
Oh, that was the. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, I
no,
think
no.
we- I
Well,
think-
I think we save that for the next one.
Yeah, I think we don't
Um,
touch that one at all if we can avoid it.
No, no. I think there's definitely a bit of a conversation there because when
Yeah,
you're
well, yeah,
talking about
yeah.
international, I think.
Well, if you want, I don't know if you guys won't go fully into that, but they explained that whole situation today, actually.
Okay.
No, I think we that's an episode 2. That's a good episode.
Okay,
2
but
lead
yeah,
off.
basically, I'll just say that the thing you're wrong is Belarus is playing this year.
Yes, Belarus
Yes.
will be playing, but there is still a lot of questions around Russia for sure.
The
So,
Russian one, they explained that today, and I actually found out why they're not in.
And
Okay.
then the video game stuff we can probably save along with the PWHL for episode 2.
Yep, we'll save that. So what we are gonna do though, because
Can we talk about number 10?
You want to talk about number 10?
number 10 on the quick shots because I'd really like to put my opinion on that one.
Let me see.
All right, that's fine. I think that's fair. He is a Pittsburgh fan.
All right, here, hold on one second. Did I switch mine up? I
The
may
quick
have.
shots about Villy.
Koivunen,
Nah,
the contract.
wait, what was your number 10? Did I?
No, the quick shots number 10. It's the
Oh,
Gamble on
yes.
Villy
Well,
quick.
actually, I did change those up because, I didn't I gave you guys all what the questions were going to be, and I was like, shit, I should really change this up because you know, I don't want to have them like with like quick answers. I want to make them think on their toes. But yeah, we can. Where is that one on here? I think it's
I
one of
sent
the
it to you in the
last ones.
Discord chat, like in our voice chat version chat. I don't know. My brain's dead at this point.
Which one was that? Dude, I got so many of them here. I put in 30 and I was just going to go randomly selecting fucking which ones I was going to ask you guys. All right, what was that first one?
Villy
Crosby?
Koivunen contract.
Oh, the Koivunen contract. Yes. Okay, here's what we're going to do, guys. We're going to go super, super quick on this one. It's time for quick shots. Let's fucking go.
Are you doing your own theme song here? Is that what's happening?
Yeah. It's a whistle with the
Oh.
quick shots graphic. That's what we got there.
Oh,
Okay, so
God.
really quickly, tell us what you think about the Covenant contract.
Absolute dog shit. He's got 7 points in the NHL and he plays in the AHL, and we gave him a contract that crazy for no reason. And it makes it even matter because yes, we traded for him when we got rid of the ex-Leaf dude, but the ex-Leaf dude that we traded was the trade that we got for Jake Gensel too. And
Yeah.
as a Penguins fan, I miss Jake Gensel to the day because Jake Gensel was unbelievable. So I hate that trade. Villy Koivunen's not worth that.
Oh my God!
All right, there we go. All right, question number 2. This one, oh shit, no, fuck, I dropped the wrong one. Ah, fuck. All right, question number 2. This one's going to you, Philly. 5 years from now, who's the better player, Gavin McKenna or Macklin Celebrini?
Celebrini.
All right, Crosby. Number 5. Who wins the Stanley Cup first, Ottawa or Florida?
Florida.
There we go. That one. I know. Come on, man. We gotta have a little bit of fun. He's Canadian, so like we gotta at least try here.
I think the question should have been who wins the Stanley Cup first? Any team from Canada or the Flyers?
Yeah, probably. All right, Philly. 2027 NHL draft. Landon DuPont first overall.
Barring any unforeseen circumstances, yes.
All right. Crosby. Connected franchise will return in EA 27. Do you think it'll become a true multi-season franchise by NHL 28?
I have no idea. It's EA. They might delete it after a year.
I concur.
That's actually pretty fucking fair. Okay, yeah, hold on. We're gonna go this one. I already know what your answer is here, Philly, but I just want to hear you get it on the record one more time. Carolina repeats, yes or no?
Not a shot in hell.
All right, Crosby, is Canada still the world's best hockey development nation, yes or no?
Development nation? Yes.
Fair. All right. And then finally, Philly, I got to put you on the spot here. Which happens first? Canada wins another Olympic men's gold, or the United States wins another one?
That one's tough. Can I go with option C? I actually think it's going to be Sweden or Finland who win the next Olympic gold medal. I don't think it's going to be either one of us, to be honest. Like,
All right.
I
gonna
think
kill each
we're
other
riding
so
so
badly.
high, and I think Canada's so pissed off that
Yeah.
whenever we ultimately let Russia back in, we should just assume that first one is for them.
Oh,
But
fuck yeah.
I mean, like, if my choices are which one of the two of them, more than likely, like, statistically, would probably win. Canada has the better program, right? Like, so
Yeah.
you would argue that statistically, yeah, if you held a gun to my head, would I bet that it is likely USA wins back-to-back gold medals? No.
All right.
Did I think we were winning this gold medal? No. when we won this gold medal, did I have Steve slap me as hard as he could to make sure that it in fact actually happened? Yes, actually I did, because I thought I was having a stroke. Thank you. I will say this. I think it is. I will rephrase the question and answer it this way.
Yeah.
I think it is incredibly unlikely that in my lifetime I will ever see another sweep where Canada does not win a single gold medal at any
Yeah.
major competition in ice hockey, men's or women's.
Fair enough. All right, last two questions here. Crosby, best arena atmosphere in the NHL today.
Best arena atmosphere?
Yeah.
Vegas.
Vegas, yeah, dude, that is actually pretty fair. And then the last one, I'm going to you because I actually want to hear your answer. I'm interested in who you think. Philly, best hockey broadcaster working today.
National or local?
Either.
So for me, I believe that the best color commentator and in the booth person, national and local, is Brian Boucher.
Yeah.
I think that he does a very good job of separating, even when he's calling the Flyers games nationally, he does not allow his bias to come through like certain other broadcasters do.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jim Jackson's a great play-by-play guy. I like him, obviously. I will also say that in terms of just like around the league, the Penguins have a really good radio team that's very, very, very underappreciated, which I know you don't expect to hear from a Philadelphia fan, but like
that's weird.
I mean, I'm being honest. Like you asked the question, I'm answering it honestly. They do a fairly good job of calling things down the middle. Even during the Flyers playoff series, there were a couple things that the TV announcers were aghast at, and the radio announcers were the Penguins were like, "Yeah, no, Crosby just fell over. That is a diving penalty. That is correct." Like they got that right. Whereas the Penguins TV was like, "Oh no, he's been shot." Right. So like, I think that like credit where credit's due. I also think nationally we have a like play-by-play commentary problem. I think both TNT and ESPN are god awful at this, and they have weirdly the right pieces in place to be able to do this right. But not in the right roles. Like John Buccigross does a great job calling college hockey, but for whatever reason, you put him in front of an NHL game, it's like Bambi on skates. And so like I don't know, it's always weird for me. I could tell you who I really don't like. I think Columbus dropped the ball. They are having a simulcast of TV and radio be the same. That's a mistake. Can't wait to hear how that's gonna sound on the radio, Columbus. Great job on that. I think that for me, what I look for in terms of like how I rank this, honestly, is basically if I close my eyes and listen to you do the call, can I tell if this is a biased commentary team and what team you're calling from? Or can I tell that you're ESPN and you really want a certain outcome?
Fuck, no shit, eh?
And so, like, look, people dug on Philly for having Philly biased opinions, but like the reality is,
hey.
It's called how it's called. And
we're supposed to keep these ones to 30 seconds. You remember that was the point of the quick shot, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you asked me a loaded question, and it's like
that's the whole point. You gotta fucking go, buddy.
I mean, look, the answer is I like all teams equally. There you go.
All right. Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite online announcer?
Well, obviously, it's me and you.
Oh, let's go. I think we do make a pretty good fucking team, buddy. Let's go. That has been the Chalkzone. Yeah, the Chalkzone.
Honorary third.
The Chalkzone OT quick shots for tonight. This has been episode 1, guys. This has been a whole lot of fun. Thanks, man. Thank you guys for hanging out for it being this long. I think I'm definitely going to cut down how many topics I pick.
Yeah, I will edit the rundown next time appropriately. I didn't want to curb your enthusiasm. But,
wow.
I took one look at it and I was like, yeah, all right, we'll work on it.
Well, yeah, okay. You know
we'll
what?
Just put one topic next week.
I gotta trust the producer. That's what this really.
No, it was good. Look, listen. For those unaware, like behind the scenes, just before he cuts, he did write like a rundown of like 20 some topics plus quick shots. And the producer and me looked at this and was like, no shot in 2 hours. Some of these topics were like 5 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, okay, you're going to spend 5 minutes introducing the topic. And you've got me and you've got you and you've got Crosby. But I didn't want to like cut to the excitement. So I was like,
No.
you know what? We'll
Nope.
do the first show. We'll learn in real time. We've got a lot to work with and a
Yep.
lot of topics we can put in the can. But it was really good. And
Yep.
more
Yep.
importantly, you can cut a lot of it up into shorter bits. But
Exactly.
I thought it was great.
No, I had a lot of fun. Crosby, want to thank you very much for hanging out. Where can the people find you? Playing hockey?
I don't really post anywhere really, so just
They can find him in the TJ Chalkzone Media Discord.
There we
yeah.
go. There we go. That'll be open very, very soon. I will have the link up for that shortly. And as for you, Philly, dude, thank you so much, man. This has been an absolute pleasure.
You know, I don't normally give 3 hours of my uninterrupted time to anybody. I mean, hell, even when I had a girlfriend, she would be like clamoring for this. So I gotta tell you, like,
I feel special.
I mean, you should, because like, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just here, but it's been great. When are we doing it again? That's
Right.
gonna be asked. What's our cadence gonna be, Chalk?
I think it's gonna be next Saturday. Unless
Sounds like it's gonna be next Saturday, folks.
barring something happening. But maybe a tornado will actually hit this time. Who knows? Who knows?
There's no sporting events next week either.
Yeah, exactly. Oh fuck, man. Yeah, it might actually be a good opportunity to fucking do it. Right on, boys. Well, this has been
Well,
an
yeah.
absolute blast, and I want to thank you guys both. Oh yeah, Philly, where can people find you?
Wherever there is a TJ Chalk Zone stream, I'll be there.
Somewhere in the background, maybe lurking in the shadows, maybe beside me in the booth. Who knows, there, girls and boys. Thank you very much again, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. As for all of you, I want to thank you all very much for joining us here in episode number 1 of the Hockey Talk with Chalk podcast. We'll be back next week for episode number 2. As for me, I'll be back right here in the Chalk Zone tomorrow night for AGL Sunday Night Hockey. We got the recap show as well as the Foundations League, week number 4, getting off to a big start, so make sure that you join us there. I want to thank you all very much for hanging out with us this long. I, as always, have been your host, TJ Chalkboard, coming to you live from the basement of the Legion of Doom headquarters right here in Newmarket, Ontario, Canada. I didn't drink enough, but I love you all, and we'll see you next time. Hey, the following can contain some intense language and is intended for a mature